this, but I don't like the ring light actually. Makes me look yeah, I don't have time. I don't know where it does this. There we go. Here we go. Have to get the ring light. Okay. Is it okay? All right. Is it the view here? Okay, that's a highlight. Okay. Oh, am I live? Oh, oh, my bad, y'all. I didn't know I was live. I did not know I was live. I'm so sorry. Ooh, good thing I didn't, imagine if you was talking mess and then you go live. How are you guys? How are you guys? Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to Rome with Romy. So I'm just gonna wait for a few people to join. Hopefully people join. I see, yeah, it is live. Y'all, I'm still getting used to being live, okay? Like, your girl still has some, I still have a lot of things to learn about going live. Like, I even have my ring light here because I noticed that sometimes the lighting is so, like, dark in here. So at least you can see me a little bit. But the thing I don't like is, oh, actually it's anti-glare. Okay, that's good. With my old glasses, it was, like, really hard to use the ring light because you would see like the ring light circles in my lenses, and I hated that. But here it's a little better. Hold on, let me reposition the ring light. I'm trying to get all professional and trying to have like, YouTubers that have like the really good setup and stuff. I'm trying to have that. Okay, so let's just wait for a few more people to join and we'll get into it. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone is doing well. I can't see too many things. It's so weird because whenever I start a live, I always get nervous because I'm like, is everything working properly? Like, is everything good? Can y'all see? Let me know if you guys can't see me too well. I really hate the lighting in this place. My apartment has like the worst lighting, y'all. Hold on, let me move this over. Maybe this will be a better view. Okay, we just gonna have to do what it do. And I also noticed that I figured out how to make my videos landscape way instead of the portrait way, which was really pissing me off. But I finally figured it out. So when you watch the replay, it'll be in a better format for your phones and for the laptop. I don't like to watch like the portrait version because it's like a, just looks kind of a little weird to me. So, yeah, let's just wait a little bit and then we're going to continue. So I hope everyone's doing well. I know that it's a holiday in America. So I know y'all getting ready for Thanksgiving to eat turkey, eat a whole bunch of stuff. So, yeah, I feel that this Thanksgiving is probably going to be, it's always the same. But I don't know. I feel like this year, Christmas and Thanksgiving are just different. Like, everyone's already got their Christmas trees up. I just find that very strange. Like, usually people wait until after American Thanksgiving. But nope. I've had some friends in America that said that they put their Christmas tree up, which I thought was pretty cool. Morning, the Dev Studio. Morning, Dev Studio. Welcome to the chat. I love seeing you guys, by the way. I've memorized a lot of your names, which is so funny. So anytime I see you guys commenting, I'm like, oh, I know who that is. I kind of feel like I know you, but I don't really know you, which is so strange, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I used to be, let me tell you, I'm a very pessimistic person naturally. I always be like, if somebody tells me something, I'll be like, you sure? I'm naturally that kind of person that, like, not in a negative way. I don't want to say that, but I always question things, right? And I remember, like, a few years ago, I read a study that says, like, parasocial relationships, how they make you feel like you're in a community more than when you're outside sometimes, in real life or around your family members and your friends. And I used to wonder, why do people stay online all day? You know, some people, they just be talking and arguing all day long, and you're on the internet and you're like, why are they always online? And I realized that it's about the relationship. It's like when you talk to people, you actually feel like you know them, even though you've never met them a day in your life physically in person. But it's that connection that you have, and you can recognize who that person is, even though they're miles away on the other end of the screen, but you can still feel the energy, right? So all to say, at Depth Studio, happy to see you back. And you know, everyone else who comes back, or if you're a new viewer, welcome, welcome, welcome. I was just explaining how I want, you see, look at this lighting. Like, what is going on here? Hold on, maybe this, okay, maybe I need to put it behind here. But then I feel like it kind of, okay, maybe, you see, we have to do so much here to make this space better, but we're gonna make it great. We're gonna make this space great. No, but now my glare is showing. You see, okay, maybe I need to be closer. Okay, here we go. I think this might work. At Luwale, hi, hey, how are you? Carla Maria Isaac Malavi. Ooh, beautiful name. It's a very long name, but it's beautiful. I love it. Hi from Puerto Rico, a new subscriber here. I always enjoy your videos. Hey, Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico. Hey, I always wanted to go to Puerto Rico, by the way. So y'all might see me out there one day soon. I love Puerto Rico. Hello to my Puerto Ricans. Hey. I'm Luwa from South Africa. Hey, my South African subbies. Love y'all, love y'all. Okay, South Africa, Puerto Rico. Okay, where else we got? What other countries we got? I love the international aspect, the global aspect of my channel. I love it. So, I wonder though, like, hold on. Puerto Rico, what time is it in Puerto Rico? No, Puerto Rico should be the same as East Coast because it's near the US. South Africa, what time is it over there right now? Is it time for you to be in bed and you watching me? Let me know. Because it's daytime here. You know, my time zones be all mixed up, but I know if it's daytime here, Korea, it must be nighttime, because I always got to go back to Korea because that's the other country I lived in. So South Africa must be, what time is it over there? You supposed to be in bed? Yeah, Carla, I know, yeah. So you're on the East Coast time. It's 6 p.m. Oh, okay, it's 6 p.m. Okay, I gotta make sure you, yeah, because sometimes when people be like, I had to go to bed, I couldn't watch, I'm like, girl, there's a replay. There's a replay. You don't have to worry about it. But yeah, I hope everyone's doing well. It's almost 12 p.m. Yeah, it is, because you're 3 hours ahead. Yeah, I'm on the West Coast, so it's just, the sun just like literally rose a few minutes ago. So you know, for me, it's like early morning. So that's why I be having so much energy. Ooh, let me start drinking my coffee. So how is everyone doing? Before I start, I do want to make a disclaimer. So last week's video, I was a little turned up. I realized that when I watched my replay, I was like, whew, I was a bit turned. But I hope that people receive the message well. When I say things passionately, it's not like I'm trying to judge people. I want to make that very clear. I'm not being judgmental in any sense. I also want to make it clear that if you've already if you're already in a situation of the examples that I give that are not too good examples, like basically, for example, if I say, hey, you know, in an interracial relationship, you should try to get to know each other's culture more. And then let's say you didn't do that in the past, or you haven't been doing that. It just gives you a way to kind of move differently in the future, or take actionable steps to improve yourself. That's what this channel is about, to be honest with you. When I first started this channel a long time ago, what my intention was for it to be a self-improvement channel, because that's who I am. I love to improve myself in all aspects of life. I think that if you stop growing, then that's going to basically kill you. Maybe not physically, but in your body, you're gonna die. Because you're not growing, you're not changing, you're getting too comfortable. And I just feel like it just kills your mindset, kills your spirit, and you just live just a mundane existence, which I don't want any of you to do. I want you guys to thrive. I want you guys to do well and learn some tips and concepts from experts, because this advice is not just from me. I always try to connect my advice to studies, because it shows that through research, what I'm saying is, you know, it's something that can be applied. I don't want to just give advice just off of my life experience, because everyone's experience is different. And if I just gave you advice that's not based off of something scientific or that has some type of backing, it might not work for you. Because we got to consider where you at. You know, it might not work for you, because I could tell you, hey, maybe you should do this, but then I don't know your situation. So that's why when people just give blanket and general advice, it's always kind of a little weird to me. Because not weird, because sometimes it's very useful, but you got to also watch who you take the advice from and take it with a grain of salt, because it might not apply to your life, right? Everyone's circumstances and situations are different. But if you give advice that's based off of science or some type of social science, which means that they have studied people, and the majority of people they've studied have generally come to this consensus, then it's more likely to be able to be applied to you. That's how I feel about it. Hello, Jay the coolest. I'm you. Hey, Jay, welcome to the chat. Jay, can you tell me if you're a man? I'm just doing a little study here. Just a little study, and I'm still trying to get my lighting situation worked out, but it's okay. One day we're gonna have great lighting, guys, and a better camera, and we're gonna have like this nice backdrop. But for now, y'all just gonna get in my house and get what I have. Are you a man? And it's nothing negative. I just want to know if you're a man or not, because I'm trying to see. I've noticed I have a lot of guys watching me, a lot of men, and I'm gonna start like, I have to start being careful about what I say. Not saying that I'm gonna censor myself, because I'm not. But I just want the advice to apply to you too. You know what I mean? So that's why I was asking. Your personality is so fun. Whoo, cha. Let me tell you. I just be keeping it real. That's the problem. I keep it too real. And also, I think it's because I'm just myself, you know. I think that you have to be yourself, like in any situation. I remember when I was younger, I used to be scared to be myself, because I was so weird. People, every time people said they met me, first thing they would say is, oh my God, you're so nice. And then I would hear, but you're just a little different. You know, different. And I realized it's just my personality. I just love to connect with people. I love to talk to people. I'll be the weird one. Like, we'll be at the grocery checkout line, and then I see someone's nails or something different. Like, I remember this one girl, she had beautiful blue hair. Like, her hair was dyed well, like, it was so beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, your hair's so beautiful. And we just started chatting. And that's how I just love connecting with people. And I just think that it's really cool with those daily interactions that you have with people, to just kind of try to get to know people and have a fun personality. You can't always be serious all the time. I ain't got time to be serious. The world is already serious enough. Now, I'm not talking about joking about, like, I hate, like, dark humor. I'm not talking about joking about people's circumstances. I'm talking about just living a little. You ain't got to be too serious. That's one thing I had to teach my husband. I'm like, why are you so serious? Like, dang, you gotta lighten up. You too tense. Everything gotta be like, oh, I gotta do this. I gotta go to the gym. I gotta push. I gotta da-da-da. And then I'm sitting here like, I'll go to the gym when I feel like it. And today I don't feel like it because my energy is low. But tomorrow I'm finna go. That's how you gotta do it. Well, for me anyways, that's what works for me. I float my own boat, and I move how I move. And I don't like to let other people and external things stress me out. And I like to have a good time. So, yeah, that's my personality. We're going to have a good time. We joke, but we could take in information and joke at the same time. You ain't got to be all too serious. That don't work for your girl. That doesn't work for me. I can't do it. Michael Pan, for Blasian couples, how do you encourage them to discuss the importance for cash payment reparations for Black American freedom of chattel? Oh, that's a good question, Michael Pan. Okay. So I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to answer a few questions, and then we're going to start on our the research I got for y'all today. So, okay, this is a loaded question, so I want to make sure I understand it correctly. How do you encourage them to discuss, hold on, let me go back discuss the importance for cash payment reparations for Black American freedmen of chattel slavery? Okay. So you're trying to find out how to make people feel that it is important to have reparations and cash reparations for cash reparations for slavery. Sorry, y'all. This happens all the time. Every time I drink my my coffee, it has I guess the creamers kind of give me the mucus. I know it's so disgusting, but I have to mention that. So if you guys see me stop and then clear my throat, that's why. So I would say this. I'm gonna say one thing. I'm gonna try not to be too. This is a deep topic, and I want to be very sensitive when I say this. How do you convince people that you need reparations or that reparations are important? Because everybody has received their reparations but Black people. Everybody received their reparations. Everybody have had atonement. Okay? Everybody else in the world that has gone through a situation that has been traumatic and a genocide, they have been given their reparations except for these, us, even me, myself. France still owes Haiti money. That's where my ancestors are from. To this day, we haven't gotten anything yet. And we had to actually pay France back. And then you have US. You have, all the countries in Latin America. Anywhere where there was slavery, right? So I feel like this, like how you can convince people that cash reparations are important is because everybody else has had it but us. So how fair is that? That's number one. Number two is you can't move on. When you apologize to someone, and this is what I'm learning too in my real life, you can't move on without actionable steps. So if, for example, I yelled at my husband, like I'm just abusive to him and I'm just yelling at him all the time and I don't realize how bad I am. Because sometimes some people just have really bad habits. That's what they start growing up and they just, replicate that. I'm just using a very general, very extreme example. And let's say my husband asks me to stop and that he says I have hurt him and he wants me to make up for it. Meaning that, hey, if you're going to be a better wife, I'm going to need you to do these things. Meaning that you need to apologize to me. You need to speak to me better. You need to show me that you've changed. Now, if I do not do those steps, and then I keep, just thinking like everything's all hunky-dory and I haven't taken actionable steps to make myself better, that relationship is never going to be repaired. So again, I'm not saying that we can't exist together, coexist. Obviously, I'm living in Canada. I love my friends who are, white. I love everybody. I don't have a problem living here. I don't have a problem just doing whatever I have to do, working. We can coexist, absolutely. But on a national level, it's going to always be a problem whenever you have people that feel like they have never really been given the proper apology. You need to apologize and make up for it. Like in real life, if you apologize to your spouse and you really love your spouse, you're going to do whatever it takes to make them happy. You're going to do whatever it takes to make them feel good. Even your friends, your family, if that person is really important to you, you're going to do whatever it takes to fix the situation. But how come everyone else has gotten their apologies? How come everyone else has gotten their reparations? Everyone else has gotten, and I'm talking about other races. We can even bring up specific Holocaust victims. They deserved it. We're not going to argue about that. We have the Japanese encampment group. They deserved it. They deserved their reparations, as they should. This was a traumatic experience that somebody needs to take accountability for. And some people will be like, oh yeah, well, it happened a long time ago and it was not me and it wasn't this. Yeah, but it was your ancestors. That's fine. It's okay. It's okay. It doesn't mean that I hate you. It doesn't mean that I think differently of you. It's just that in order to make people, I just feel like if you're going to apologize, you have to do it on their terms. You can't just think that what you're doing in your way is the best way. Like if you apologize to your spouse or whoever, you're going to do what it takes to make them feel like you really made up for what you did. And it has to be what they feel. You can't just force what you think is best for them on them. If they think that if we think that reparations are owed, they are owed, baby. That's it. That's all. And also, let's think about it from an economic standpoint. All that free labor that built the country. Because during that time, it was free labor. People were picking cotton. People were picking, different things. All those resources to go and build different, communities and countries. And we did it for free. My ancestors did it for free. You would never do that in this time for free. And people need to get paid for what they were owed, right? So just think of it as back payment. Anyway, that's just my view. Again, you can agree to disagree. Some people don't agree with it and they disagree with what I'm saying. But I just feel like basically, if you want to talk to people and you want them to understand why reparations are necessary, I would highly recommend that you look at other groups that have received their reparations, and then you compare all of the free labor that everyone of African descent had to do for free. So you're going to look at how much it would cost to do this in this time, how much it would cost to do that in this time, how much would it cost to pick cotton today's price, and then you back it up from that time. Look at the inflation and look at what's owed, because that money is like a debt. Just like when you pay your credit card debt, they have all your whatever you spend on your card, it don't matter, because as soon as you spend money, whatever the balance was owing on it, they still add interest to it. So we added interest to it. That's why they don't want to pay. Because if you look at the credit card system right now, you look at your debt, you got $20,000 debt from 10 years ago. It's still going to accumulate interest of today if you don't pay it. That's my spiel. All right, let me look at some more comments before I stop. Are we allowed to ask questions? Absolutely. You can ask whatever questions you want. Absolutely. Sis, not that you did not look good before, with all respect. It shows you have been working out. My inspiration. Thank you, Hope. I ain't been working out, though. I've just been more mindful about what I put in my mouth. That's it. That's it. That's the key, y'all. That's the secret. I've just been more mindful about what I put in my mouth, what I ingest, what I eat. If I want a snack, I don't have the big bag like I used to eat, like just ferociously. But now I just, I take a little, I do my little cute, I'm mindful and demure. I don't eat the whole bag. I just eat a little bit. I gotta be mindful. I gotta be demure. So yes, thank you, sis. I love it. And I'm not gonna take it the wrong way. I told my friend the other day, I was like, look, like some people know what they look like and they look good in a different way. I look good. Like I looked at my videos a few years back. Your girl was looking a little good. I was looking real good. I was like, okay, I need to get back to that. That's what I like to look like, right? So no offense taken. I have a question of ethnic names for the kids if the couple chooses to have kids and language learning. Okay, yeah, ask the question. Is that the question? If that's the question, okay, I'll answer it. Okay. Ethnic names for the kid? I don't think that's a problem. I think that's something that you should work out with your partner. Like, for example, if Dom wants to have or Dom's parents, because Dom basically is good for whatever, so it wouldn't matter to him. But if Dom's parents want us to have our kid, like if we have a son or a daughter, to have a Korean name, I have no problem with that. None at all. So I think it just depends on you and your partner, how you guys want to go about it. I think ethnic names are beautiful. That's what makes us different. Yeah, I love it. Like, we all have different names, so why not, right? Now, the only thing I do understand is the pronunciation. I hate that when, people don't want to pronounce a name, and I get it because it's so hard. And I think you have to take that into consideration, that if you have a name that's ethnic, you got to make sure that it's something that is. But then even if it's easy to say, some people just gonna butcher it. So you got to take that into consideration. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's beautiful to have, different parts of a culture from people in one child. And you said language learning. We're going to get on that in this topic. Okay, so I'm just going to read a few more and then I'm going to go. Does your husband understand the importance for cash payment reparations for Black? Okay, let me ask him right now. Dom, do you think Black people deserve to get paid back for the work that they did during slavery time?
Yes.
You heard him. He said yes. Why?
Because they didn't pay.
That's it. It's just logic. Guys, it's logic. It ain't that hard. If you guys didn't hear me, said yes. And I said, why? Because they didn't pay. That's it. Because if I don't pay my bills today, if I decide I'm going to live in this apartment building and I say, you know what, from today, I'm not paying my rent. Y'all, it's too expensive here. I'm paying way too much. The economy's hard. I'm not going to pay my rent. I guarantee you, in 6 months, I'm going to be out on the street. They will come and evict me. Matter of fact, they will have an officer come and put a rental eviction notice on my door. And guess what? All that money I owe them, It's going to be on my credit report because I didn't pay. I'm in arrears. They got me. They're going to have me okay, I'm going to have to be honest. They're going to have me asked out. I'm going to be out there. So no, yes. Like, I can't just choose. Like, you got to pay people. That's it. You can't just go in life and think you're going to take the shortcut and get free labor and all that stuff. Nah, man. You going to pay me for my labor. Because this food ain't for free. These light bills ain't for free. Nothing in life is for free. Okay? And also people were stolen. That's not even, they didn't even consent to it. It's not like indentured servitude where they came here to make a better life for themselves. They were stolen. Theft. You know people who steal the sentences? I should do a study about that. If you steal something that's valued X amount of dollars, you may spend this much time in jail. How about a human life? What's the price that you're going to put on somebody's head? That just shows me, for me, that if you don't believe that people deserve what they, are owed, then that means you don't put the value on that person's life, because you took them away from their culture, you took them away from their family, you took them away from their homeland, you put them in traumatizing situations, till this day, that their generations are still dealing with. And then you want to tell me you don't owe me money for all the trauma that you done put on me? Countries we can't even go back to because they're in turmoil right now? Come on now, let's be real. I'm gonna need my money. And then you got me living here and I'm paying taxes. I'm paying all this stuff. I'm doing all that. But you got to benefit from that? We got a problem, right? So anyway, I don't want to get too political here. Like I said, that's just me talking. We got 3 more minutes and now I got to start on our topic. All right, next. Canadians are still waiting. Yup. Britain still has our... Okay, so Louis said, Britain still has our diamond from South Africa. Yeah. And because our democracy is literally 30 years, seeing interracial couples in my country is as rare as seeing a rainbow. Yeah. And you know what? Like, it's so crazy how a lot of these places have things that were taken and they haven't given them back. Stolen. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of levels to it if you think about it deeply. It's crazy. I mean, the levels of things that we don't even know about what's been taken. Oh my goodness. Yeah, in South Africa, we are still living through the consequences of colonialism and apartheid. I don't know if we will ever get justice such as in the Holocaust. Yep. And you know what's so sad about it is that it's gone on for so long that, how can I say this? It's gone on for so long that it's become normalized. And I think we have to also take into consideration that our plight as Black people, if you're not Black on this channel, this is an educational moment for you, a teachable moment for you. Our time in slavery was hundreds of years. Whereas the things that we're saying now about, different genocides and situations that have happened in history were for a shorter time frame. So imagine the level of trauma that has been inflicted on people and that has become normalized. And as you said, apartheid is still going on because it's something that was ingrained, and it's hard to change people from what they're used to. So this is going to take time. Change doesn't just happen overnight. It took for things to happen today that we have, like, for example, our labor laws, union, standards, all those things, that took decades. Because you have to realize that before, because we're living comfortably now, but before, people used to get their hands cut off in those machines. Imagine you were working at an auto plant, you could get amputated, your leg cut off, you could be deceased, and they didn't have anything to protect you, no laws to protect you. Those things were built over time because they were like, hey, too many of us are dying out here, we need to get protection. And boom, through the different years, laws, policies, all that stuff, then it goes into, into act, and then now we have standards of employment. Standards of food. People used to get, remember, I don't know if y'all remember the Tylenol bottles that we have now with the seals and the, you know, they're sealed now. They were not sealed before. People used to be able to buy drugs just like that from the pharmacist. And then people would start putting stuff in them. And then they realized, hey, actually, we need to start sealing things. That needs to be a standard because too many people are dying. So they increased the standards, but it took time for that to change. It took time to change people. Because what you say is, what you got to understand is at the governmental level, yes, it's done. The change is over. No more slavery, no more apartheid. It's finished. Everybody's free. But sociologically in people's minds, they are not changing. It's hard to change a large group of people and get them in the direction that you need to. It takes time to make people cultured. Like, it takes time to make people change. I'm learning that in project management right now. Change management. It takes time for people to understand the value of change and to start acting differently. It takes time. It takes decades. It may take generations. So sometimes when you're in it right now, because we're still living in the real time, it hasn't taken effect yet. But best believe, in a few generations, for our children and their children, it's going to be a thing of the past. Hopefully, that's what my wish is. I hope we don't revert. Okay, I'm going to answer a few more questions, and then I'm out. Rome with Romy, have you and your husband thought about moving to the African continent because both of you don't have to worry over there? Okay, we're going to answer that question after. Let me see other people. Have you and your husband thought... Okay, you asked about that. I'm going to answer you. I agree, it's gotten worse with Biden. Post-traumatic slave disorder still continues this very day. Yeah, it does. Absolutely it does. Because, you know... Okay, I don't want to spend too much time because I could talk about it extensively. But I remember there was a study, okay, you guys could quote me if I'm wrong, but I know I read somewhere that Black people being scared of water comes from a generational fear of trauma because of water, right? So it's, when you have a large group of people that are scared to do different things and that it gives, like, it, anyways, there's a lot of trauma to it. I got to read up on that study. I don't want to give false information, but I did read that somewhere that is something tied to like generational trauma. And also how, you know, different things, like, for example, this one I do know is true, how we discipline our kids. So when people discipline their kids, not now, but I'm talking about in the past, like especially as a millennial with boomer parents, they use corporal punishment that was used, the same kind of methods that were used during slavery. So it was like, you know, you get on your knees, you spank the kid because that's what they saw and they passed down to their kids. And then there was one study that said that, you know, Black women, you know, like sometimes you'll give compliment to a kid, like let's say a Black mom and she has a Black child or whatever child. And then you give a compliment, oh my God, your kid is so cute. And then they'll be like, oh yeah, he cute, but he a little bad. You know, sometimes he's too much. Like they start saying negative things about their kids. I heard that is from because back in slavery times, you know, they used to sell kids. They used to separate people. They didn't want families together, so they would separate them. Again, building trauma, right? So what mothers would do is as soon as their kids got to a certain age, especially their sons, like let's say their sons are young boys, and then they get to the age where they can be sold, they would try to make the boys seem like they were not good enough to be sold. So they'd be like, oh, he's slow. You don't want to sell him. Oh, he's slow. They'll start saying all these negative things about their kid to protect their kid from being sold. Oh, he's not too bright. He's not the strongest. Oh, look how weak he is. So when you have that kind of mindset and it's transferred on, because remember, mother to child, child to mother, we're all raising each other, and it's just stuff that's passed on and we're still dealing with it today. So yes, there's a lot of post-traumatic disorder. I might do a video on that actually. That's a very, very good topic to delve into. Yes, I read that. Hope said, yes, I read that. Play down the worth of the kids. Yeah, and I didn't realize it was such a thing. And my mom used to do that because whenever people be like, oh my God, your daughter's so good. She's so smart. And then my mom would be like, she got a mouth on her. You don't know her for real. She's just like that around you, right? And I used to be like, why my mom be talking so negative about me? But then in private, she's like raising me like, oh my God, you're so smart. I love you. Like, you're doing great. I think you're doing awesome. You did such a good job. I tell everybody about my smart daughters. And I'm like, that's not correlating. It's not correlating. But then when I read that research and that study, I was like, oh, it was passed down. That's what she saw. So my mom, imagine, my mom, she's a free woman. She grew up. She was raised. She was born in 1956. So slavery was way over at that point. But she learned it from somewhere. Who did she learn it from? Her parents. Who learned it from their parents? Who learned it from their parents? Who learned it from their parents? And we're learning it from our parents. So it's like those kind of things just don't go away. And we don't know. Maybe somebody back in the day was like, don't go into water. Don't swim. Water's not good. Da 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 da. And then passed it down. And then you just have this innate fear. Obviously, we know now that you can swim and stuff like that. But a lot of Black people don't know how to swim. That's true. They've done statistics about it. So it's not that we don't recognize swimming is important, but there's something there that's preventing, right? So there's just so many layers to it. So to answer your question, have my husband and I thought to live on the African continent? No, we haven't. And I'm going to be honest with you. It's not something that we've thought about because one, how can I say this? We want to be more stable, and not saying that African countries are not stable. That's not what I'm saying, but it's because I have citizenship here. It's easier for me to kind of, sponsor my husband and us to have a more stable life than living as two people who have like permanent resident visas or even work visas. That's all. That's the only reason. Because we were actually contemplating living in another country first before because we didn't want to live in Korea. That was a fact. We were like, nope, we want to live somewhere else. But when we looked at other countries, we were just like, it's going to be too hard for us. Like, I honestly don't like the experience of not being secure. I got to keep it real with y'all. When I was in Korea, even though my husband is Korean, I always felt that I wasn't really Korean. Like, of course I'm not Korean, but I wasn't like, I would never fully integrate, right? And also, it takes a long time. People don't understand that when you move somewhere, it takes a long time to get visas. It takes a long time to go through the permanent residency process. It takes a long time, and you have to be very strong-minded and strong-willed to have that kind of mindset. And I realized when I was in Korea, you could even ask my husband, after that experience, I was like, no, I can't. For me personally, I just can't. I need to be stable because I've been so unstable my whole life. And I was like, I need a period of time where I can be stable, stay in one place and just kind of grow. And, it takes a lot of willpower. Where am I going to work? What am I going to do? How long is my visa? Can I get a visa? Those things come into factor. So don't just pay attention to people who just move somewhere. It's like, oh, you can move there too. There's a whole process of work visa, education, where you're going to put your kids, how you're going to pay for the school. What if I want them to get this quality of education? What's the standard of living? How's the job market? Can I find a job as a foreigner? Or do I need to have this paperwork? There's a lot that goes into it. So I can't just up and move my family to the continent just because, it makes sense. And it does. It's beautiful. I would love to. I would love to go anywhere else to pay less taxes. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. When I look at the taxes, I'm like, whoo, there's other places in the world that don't have this. But then when you look at the reality of it, moving my husband to a country that we're both not from, that's risky. That's risky behavior. It's too risky. Even if I went back to my parents' home country in Haiti, that's very risky. Well, especially now. But even if it were stable, it's risky because I don't know the job market. I'm not a local. There's so many factors to consider. So would we retire there? Now that's a different question. Yes, absolutely. I could retire anywhere. So yes, I am free to retire anywhere. But as far as my working years and, what I can give to my kids and having them in a stable environment where we don't have to worry about visas and all those things, and just so, we have the protections, healthcare, all that stuff, I would have to stay here. That's my final answer. Okay. Okay. 500 plus years. Yep. Jimmy Rustler. Yep. Somebody says stability is important. It is very important for children. Extremely important for children. Extremely important for children. And also for you too, especially when you're in a place in your life where, because when I was younger, I was Rome with Romy. I'm telling y'all, my moniker, the name of my channel is very true. I've lived in many different cities. I have traveled to so many different places. And I used to love roaming around the world. But now, sister's about to be 39. I'm tired, y'all. I'm exhausted. I just moved back to Canada last year. And it's taking me time to be stable here because I spent so much time away from home. And now it's like I'm catching up. I'm trying to catch up to where I want to be, right? So it's not as easy when people say, oh, just move somewhere. No, you got to think about those factors, and you have to have the wit and the grind, because it's not all going to work out the way you think it is sometimes, like, right? unless you already have roots there, it's easier if you have family there. So if I had family in like South Africa or Kenya or Nigeria or Ghana or even Mali or Malawi or Zimbabwe, wherever on the continent, if I had family or local people I knew there, then yeah, it would be easier for me to transition. But imagine I don't know anyone there. I mean, my family was taken there from a long time ago. I don't even know where we're from. So it's like, it'd be hard for me to learn a new language, new culture, new way of understanding. South Africa, they speak English, and they also have the native like, Afrikaans. And I think you guys speak Zulu too. Y'all could correct me in the chat. I believe so. But with that being said, there's a different cultural connotation to it too. Like, I can't just move in there and think, oh, I'm gonna be good because I'm black. Chill. Black is one level of it. I may be more comfortable, absolutely. I may feel more free because there's a lot of black people there. I would love it. But at the same time, it's like I got to think of stability, economics, what the job market is over there, what I'm going to be doing, how me and my husband going to support each other, what we going to be doing, how we going to survive, you know? And not saying that they don't have, like, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that in a sense to be like, oh, they don't have an economy, so I won't go there. No, they have a thriving, every country has an economy. Come on now. There are people who are thriving there. But my point is that as a foreigner moving into that space, what are the probabilities of me being successful there? Whether I move to South Africa, Italy, New Zealand, Spain, UK, even the US, even America, even though I lived there for a long time, I don't know what the job market like is there. I don't know. How am I going to be stable? So, you know, different things. But let's start today's topic. I know I got off on a tangent, but I love talking to you guys. I'm going to answer one more thing. I'm looking for stability now at the age of 23. Yeah, I agree, Romy. Cultural shock is real. It is. People don't really understand. And I know that because when I lived in Korea, I'm going to make a video on that. Things I've learned and things that were positive and negative about living there. I never really expressed that because I tried to be as neutral as possible and I didn't want to make my channel too negative. But there are a lot of things to consider, y'all. Like, it's not always easy to move to another country, especially when you're a foreigner. And it doesn't matter. Like, there are Asian foreigners in Korea right now because people think, like, oh, maybe it's because we're foreigners that are non-Asian. But Asian foreigners got it bad, too. Everybody in the struggle, y'all. It's just you're just not a native of the country, and that's okay. It's always going to be a struggle. All right, let's start the topic. So, how to make it work? Interracial marriage. Interracial marriage. So, speaking about chattel slavery that Michael Pan bought out, and I love that you actually sent in or you wrote that question, because if there are so many negative things happening in the world, and with reparations not being given, and black people just we're all coexisting together basically, why are interracial relationships happening still? Like, shouldn't we all just be in our own cultures and just kind of just live life in our own little bubbles, in our silos, right? But that's not what's happening out there, y'all. Interracial marriage is increasing exponentially. And this is the thing. I want to preface this by saying that I'm not promoting interracial marriage as the panacea. Okay, this is not the when you have the vaccine, this is not going to help you. Interracial marriage is not going to be better for you depending on your situation. You have to have a certain level of grit and a certain mindset of hustling to move to another country as a foreigner. You also have to have the same when you enter an interracial marriage. Interracial marriage is not for the faint of heart. So I have to be very clear when I say that, so people don't think I'm just promoting interracial marriage as like the band-aid of all. Like, oh yeah, like it's the panacea. This is it. This is it. This is ideal. This is what's gonna happen. This is it. It's going to be the cure. It's not the cure, y'all. So I will say this. I believe in you finding love wherever you find it, whether it be with a black person, a Latino person, a Asian person, Pacific Islander. If it's within your race, maybe you might find a local person in your community. There's nothing wrong with that. So I want to get that out the way because I don't want people to be like, oh, she one of them swirlers. Don't call me a swirler. I'm not just a swirler, y'all. Okay, yes, my husband is Korean, but I'm not just a swirler. Okay, you know, I think this, like, you can find love how you find it and who you're attracted to. Let's just put it that way. So if you're attracted to people from a certain region, do your thing. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But you got to take into consideration that there's a lot that comes with it. You can't just get into these relationships and have this idealistic view like, oh my God, we're so, that's it. He's from this and we just gonna do this. A lot of cultural things happen. And that, whether it be interracial or intercultural, because I also have to put that disclaimer in. Because, for example, I am from Canada. My parents are from Haiti. But if I married, or if I had married, because I'm married right now, happily. But if I had married somebody from, like, let me put a country, Bahamas. Let's say I married a Bahamian man. It's still going to be the same cultural difference. The only difference is, yeah, we're black. That's it. But different cultures, different expectation. I'm sure Bahamian people behave way differently than Haitian people and Canadian people, right? There are some certain things about Bahamian culture that I might not understand and that I need to learn. So this is applicable to everyone. It's not just interracial relationships, but I just put it as interracial, but it's actually interracial and intercultural. So I had to put that out there. All right, so how to make it work. Now, back to where we started off, or where we left off last week. Last week, we left off on the note of the negative things about interracial relationships, right? Which couples thrive more, which couples don't, and why. Okay, I won't go into too much details. Y'all could check the last week's live. I was a little passionate though, I must admit. I must let y'all know, disclaimer, I was a little turned up. I was a little hyped. But today I'm gonna be a little calmer. Because it's green flags. Okay. That was so weird. Okay, we're gonna start on this study. And it's called, and by the way, my references are always in the description box if you want to take a read yourself, because obviously I don't go extensively into the articles. They just have a lot of information. I just pull what I think is important in its entirety, basically. Like, I pull the data that I think is important. However, you're free to read it on your own in your leisure. All right, so global views on diversity, gender equality, and family life. And importance of religion. So remember last week I said y'all gotta know each other's culture, in the sense that, like, you gotta know how his country, if you're a woman, treats women, and what the laws are in his country. If you're a man, you need to know what happens in her country. Okay, you need to know all those things. If you were, and men are not absolved from this. If you marry somebody and you move to their country, and you don't know the laws, you need to read up on that. Because what if she called the police and said, he hit me, and you ain't even touch her? What if she said something in the sense that, like, let's say you guys got a divorce, and then she accused you of something. Or let's say you guys are married and there's a dispute or something, or somebody sees you in public and then they start calling the police or something. I don't know. There could be so many different situations. You got to know what the laws are in that country and how you're protected as a foreigner. That's bar none. No matter who you are, if you're in a country for work, play, school, whatever. If you're a foreigner and you're a guest in someone's country, meaning that you're not a citizen, you need to know how they treat foreigners and how the law works for them. For you, sorry. Because if you're in a country where the law's not working for you, you got to be careful. You better think twice. Because them accusations are not pretty. Okay? For example, y'all can look up. This recently happened. This was just a few days ago. There was a British man. He's 20 years old. Now listen, I'm just giving y'all the story. He's British, a black British man. He went on vacation with his family to Dubai. And he met up with another British girl, a British girl. So they both were on family vacation. Actually, they didn't know each other. I think they met up in the UK. They met up in Dubai, or they met each other, and then he had sexual relations with her. She's from another race. They didn't say what race she was in the article, but he's black because they put his picture all up in the internet. So now she had sex with him. She was a minor. She's 17. It was consensual for her and for him. However, and she's too young, to be honest with you, she shouldn't have even been out. But her mama called the police, rightfully so. So she left vacation earlier. She went back to the UK. And her mama found out because she was tracking her phone and she saw the social media messages between her and that little boy. She called the police in Dubai. They arrested him on site. And he's being charged with our word. And he gonna be in there for a bit. So you gotta know how the laws work in that country. You can't just go anywhere and think you could just do anything. Because maybe you could do it in the UK and you might not have this situation. But if you do it in Dubai, where they have extreme laws against even PDA, you're gonna get in trouble. So people need to be aware of this. All right, sorry to go off on a tangent. Let me keep going. All right, so there was a sample size in this study. This is by the Pew Research. I love their statistics. You guys should go online if you want to look at stats. I love it. This was in 2019. It was a sample size of 30,133 people from 27 countries, so men and women, okay? All right, so they researched 30,000 people. It's a sample size from 27 countries about what they think about diversity, gender equality, family life, importance of religion. Just keep that in mind if you want to interracially date a foreign-born person. All right. Now, globally, so after all these studies, this is what they found after they did all the stats or all the, experiments, or they asked the surveys. Globally, people strongly favor more gender equality. So that's good for you if you're a woman and you want to date somebody from another race. I'm going to tell you though, you got to go look in the stats, but I'm going to explain it after. That's actually good for you. Or if you meet somebody in wherever from another race in another country. Okay. And even the same race, a different country. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Intercultural, interracial. Let's just put it all together. More gender equality. They express less support for increased diversity. Whew. So there's a reason for that. So some countries you go to, they might not like your kind. They don't want you in there. They're going to be cute about it, but they don't want you. And do not oppose a more important role for religion. So some countries, they want religion to be even more enforced because they have traditional views. Again, I'm going to read it again. Globally, people strongly favor more gender equality, express less support for increased diversity, and do not oppose a more important role for religion. Let's go through these countries. Now for gender equality, these countries had the highest, I'm going to go from high to low percentage of those who voted in favor of gender equality. All right, y'all take notes. Listen clearly. Lil Mama, I just see you here. My behind is late today. I'm glad to be here. Good to see you, Romy. Good to see you too, Lil Mama. Good to see you too. All right, let's continue. And it's okay. You could join the replay. Anybody who hasn't joined yet, you could join the replay. Gender equality. Those in favor, again, from ascending to descending. Sweden, 82%. India, 77%. Australia, 76%. Korea, 75%. France, 74%. Spain, 74%. Canada, 72%. The UK, 72%. Indonesia, 72%. The US, 71%. Kenya, 71%. Netherlands, 70%. Germany, 67%. Israel, 64%. Brazil, 63%. Italy, 62%. Nigeria, 61%. Mexico, 61%. Argentina, 61%. Poland, 57%. Greece, 56%. Japan, 55%. South Africa, 53%. All right, so let's go through what we just read. Sweden had the highest number of those in favor of gender equality. So, Sweden, man, I read this study. Sweden's coming out on top. If you're worried about if you have a Swedish boyfriend or you're going to be in Sweden studying, working, living there, you're a woman, you can be okay. You'll be A-okay over there. Now, Canada, we need to do better. 72%. What is going on? What is happening? Y'all don't believe in gender equality? More gender equality, I might say. We got a problem. U.S. is right behind them. Now, the bottom countries, those are the countries that I said at the bottom. Y'all got to work on your gender equality issues. That means they're more traditional. So you got to be careful. Again, when you date somebody from another country, you got to look into how they treat women, if you're a woman, and what they think about you being equal to them. Because the less they think that you're equal to them, the more traditional they're going to be. If you're not a traditional woman, you might as well just cut your losses. And if he's a progressive person, or he says he's progressive, I don't believe that, to be quite honest with you. Okay, I believe it to a certain extent because my husband is progressive in some ways. But what I will say is, again, you have to make sure that that person treats you like an equal. You can tell by their actions and how they talk to you, how they treat you, if they consider you for decisions. One thing that I love about Dom that I really, really, really like, one thing that really made me want to marry him was that he always considered my feelings. He's always like, every time he makes a decision, he comes to me first. He's like, hey, I'm about to do this. What do you think? Hey, what do you think about this? If we do every little thing, it could be even just getting food from Walmart. He'll be like, hey, I'm going to Walmart today. Do you want to come with me? He doesn't just, we going to Walmart today. Pack up your stuff. Let's go. You doing something important? No, that's not important enough. I need you here. I want you at home taking care of our kids. I don't want you to work. That's what I'm talking about. If you agree with that life, nothing wrong with that. Then by all means, date those men in those countries that I said that were at the bottom. But if you're dating a man from the countries with the lower percentage, like I said, where it's like 67% and below, you got to be careful. Be careful. You got to check their traditional values. That's very important. Next is diversity. Which countries were more in favor of diversity? In favor, percentage. Now, this is where things get muddy. Sweden was on top for the more gender equality, but they're not on top for this one. Diversity. Which countries were more open to diversity? Sweden, 56%. India, 36%. Australia, 60%. South Korea, 68%. France, 49%. France. I'm shocked. As many black people live over there. That's a problem. Spain, 58%. Canada, 62%. That's also a problem. The UK, 62%. Indonesia, Indonesia, my bad, y'all. 76%. Indonesia was high. US, 61%. I'm not surprised. Kenya, 47%. I'm surprised, but not really surprised. Netherlands, 41%. Germany, 50%. So they're half and half on diversity. Israel, 41%. Brazil, 51%. Italy, if you date an Italian man and you are from another race or culture, you need to start asking questions. And I'm not talking about Italian American. I'm not talking about Italian Canadian. I'm not talking about Italian hyphen something else. I'm talking about Italian from Italy. Italy, 26% in favor of diversity. 26%. That's a low. That's low. That's low, 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 low. Brazil, 51%. Oh, sorry. I went to Brazil already. Nigeria, 44%. Mexico, 45%. Argentina, 41%. Oh, another country that's low, low, low. Hold up, I'm about to say another country that's low. If you got a Polish boyfriend from Poland, if you live in Poland and you are not Polish, 28%. Now, remember, disclaimer, this study's from 2019. I tried to find a more recent study. If I find a more recent one, I will give you guys the update. But it wasn't looking good in 2019, and I don't think it's looking good now. And I'm going to tell you guys why. Greece. If you got a Greek boyfriend, husband. From Greece. I'm not talking about from Greece hyphen America, like I said. I'm talking about from Greece. Okay? Or he was recently a work study, whatever. Okay, Greece. If you live in Greece, or you're thinking about moving to Greece, and you're a woman of another color, a hue, you're not Greek, 17% in favor of diversity. 17% of the sample size. That's a low number. Japan, 43%. South Africa, 49%. So, if his country, this is just a study. It's a sample size. But I use research, or we should use research, to kind of give you an indication of what the population thinks, generally speaking, more or less. Of course, there are outliers. Not everybody from Greece is not in favor of diversity, I'm sure. But the consensus is, and you can even see it in the news, they don't want foreigners there. That's what I was talking about earlier when I said, if I move to another country, what are the sentiments against foreigners? Because it's very important to know this stuff before you move there. So for those people that said they want to find love or they want to move to another country to work, study, something like that, and then eventually, sometimes you go there and then you're going to date people and you're going to meet people and you're going to, you're going to be kind of exposed to different people. You have to keep these things in mind because they might not have the same values of things that you hold, right? So that's not looking good. And religion. So these countries that I'm about to say the statistics. Okay, so only this percentage is the opposite. It's opposed. So these are the percentage of people who opposed the role of religion as being more important. So the percentage I'm saying is basically this percentage, a small percentage, or this percentage of people felt that religion shouldn't have a more important role. Okay? So Sweden, 51% opposed more religion. India, 21%. So that means a lot of people are in favor of religion. Australia was 34%. So only 34% opposed more religion. The rest were in favor of. Y'all gonna do the math. Korea, 25% opposed more religion. And Korea is getting very religious, by the way. France, 47%. Spain, 38%. Canada, 29%. The UK, 31%. Indonesia, 4%. That's a low number. 4% of people in Indonesia were opposed to more religion. That means that Indonesia is a very religious country. So if you're going to marry an Indonesian man, chances are he's very traditional and religious. I'm just saying, based on the stats. Again, I'm not generalizing. There are outliers. So your man might not fall into this category. But a lot of his peoples do. Because you're not just marrying your man. This is what people need to understand. Let's stop right here for a little bit. People need to understand that when you marry somebody, you're not just marrying them. You're marrying their family. Okay? Unfortunately, I know we've tried to shy away from that. I don't need my parents' approval. Yeah, I understand that. But I'm still married to your family. Who you bring into my generational pool, my kid is going to be part of that gene pool. I am going to be part of that family. Whether we're in contact or not, I'm still legally part of that family, part of those people. Unless you and your husband separate yourselves from them. But if not, if you're a family person, you got to remember that Indonesian people are very religious. According to this study, if you're Indonesian in the chat, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But according to the stats, y'all take your religion seriously, which is not a problem. But if you're not a religious person and you decide to move or you decide to marry or date someone from Indonesia, and that person's telling you, oh yeah, like I don't care about religion and stuff like that, look at how their family treats religion, and then also ask them more questions about how they feel, especially if they're from a very strict religious background, because sometimes they might feel. That's another thing too I'm gonna talk about. People change. So You know, sometimes you go through a phase where you don't know what you want in life, right? So for example, there was one phase in my 20s where I wanted to hear nothing about God. I was just like, I'm just living my life. I don't want to be tied to Christianity. I'm free. I'm open. I'm going to do whatever I want. Ask me now at 38 how I feel. Now, my religious beliefs have changed a little bit in the sense that I'm not as strict as other people are, but I still hold some values from that, right? And sometimes some people go through phases where, especially when you meet them in their 20s, that's why I say 20s and 30s are for exploration, y'all. I mean, 20s, sorry, not 30s. 30s, you should be a little more stable, I'll just be honest. But your 20s are for exploring and finding out who you are. So who you are at 20, from 20 to 30, is not going to be who you are at 30 to 40, and who you are from 40 to 50. And I've noticed that as we age, we get more traditional. That's just a fact. So maybe your wife or husband was free spiriting, all up wherever. There's free spirit. We don't have to go confined by religious purposes. We could just do whatever we want. And I'm not that religious. But then when the kids come, and when things change, when you get older, some people still stick to it, but some people, they go back. They go back to what they know. Or they feel more like, okay, you know what? I'm going through a spiritual journey. I found who I am. This is who I am. So, yeah, it's real. It's real out there. It's real. Oh, somebody said, Rezer, that's true. I'm from Indonesia. Hello, everyone. Hello, Rezer. Nice. Welcome to the chat. And thank you for cooperating and for confirming this study. Indonesians are religious and traditional. So again, it's nothing wrong if you hold those same values. But if you're not from the same religious background as an Indonesian person, you need to take into consideration that they have strong traditional values. And right now, it might not mean something to them because they're like, okay, they want to get away or something like that. And they feel like they can be neutral. But eventually it's going to come to a head because they're going to, especially when you have kids. I feel like when kids come into the picture, because one thing I've noticed is when you look at your partner, you just see them as your partner. But when you look at your kids, those are your children. It's a connection that's different. For example, Dom and I don't share bloodline. We're not related, thankfully. Because if we was, that would be a problem. Y'all couldn't be on this channel. That's crazy. Okay, I'm just joking. But yeah, that we ain't related. That was obviously, for obvious reasons, right? But what I'm trying to say is that when Dom and I decide to have children, or if we're blessed to have kids, he's going to see our kids differently. And for me, it don't matter what religion. If he says, I don't care what you do, you can do whatever you want, you're free as a woman, but my children are my children. I need to raise them in a certain way. So you got to keep that in mind, especially when you're dating a traditional person. Next, let's keep going down the line. U.S., 18% of people oppose more religion. U.S. is religious. I don't care what nobody says, okay? I can say that as somebody who grew up in America. See, y'all don't come for me and say, oh, you're not American. You don't understand. You're Canadian. I grew up in America, okay? I consume a lot of North American culture. Most of my upbringing was from North America. Hence why I talk like this, why I speak like this, all this stuff, why I act like this. I'm very Americanized, right? A bit. More than Canadian, I would say. 18% oppose more religion. America's getting more religious. We can even see how they voted this time. Americans are getting more traditional. We're going to explore that soon. Kenya, 8%. Kenya's religious too. If you're married to a Kenyan man, he is traditional. More than likely, he is traditional and religious. You got to be careful about that. Not, again, if you have the same values as this person, no problem. And that goes for anyone, whether you're a different race or the same race and from a different culture. Like I said, if I was, because I'm black, Kenyan would make sense, right? Because, oh, you're both black, da-da-da-da, you're not going to have any issues. Wrong. We're from different cultures. How's that going to work? We got to make it work. That's what I'm saying. Culture and race, interracial and intercultural. This applies heavily. So, for example, if you're with an Indonesian woman and you're Asian, let's say you're Indonesian, but you're Indonesian American, and you're marrying someone from Indonesia, the same applies. It may be just a little different. You guys don't have to worry about race, but you got to worry about culture, because Indonesian Americans grew up way differently. have a way different mindset and values than an Indonesian person from Indonesia. I'm telling you, all of this applies the same way across the board. So again, my channel is not just interracial relationships, it's intercultural too. Let's continue. Netherlands, 45%. Germany, 35%. Israel, 32%. Brazil, 8%. Brazil is very traditional. My Brazilians, y'all traditional. I believe they're Catholic, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're not a Catholic, or you don't have those kind of beliefs, again, there are outliers. But, however, if you do not believe in the same, like if you, how can I say this? If you're not a traditional person and you don't believe in religion and you want to marry somebody from Brazil, you got to be careful. And you got to check their family background, check who they are, what they believe in. And if you're from different Christianity is different too. I'm telling you, this is mind-blowing. So different sects of Christianity. So I'm Protestant. I could marry somebody Catholic, right? My husband's Protestant too. But if my husband was Catholic, we have two totally different ways of even going to church. I probably go to church every Sunday, do my little praise and worship. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, blessings, Lord. Read my Bible, I'm done. But he might go to service. I don't know what days they go on service. And y'all could let me know in the chat. Catholic, oh my God, what is the word? Catholic services. Oh my God, what am I calling them? Anyways, they go see a priest, right? So I don't know why it's slipping my mind right now. Y'all put it in the chat if you guys know. But in Catholic services, it's a completely different situation, right? They believe in different ways of seeing God. They believe in saints. I don't believe in saints. So it's different. That's what I'm saying. But if you're with somebody from a country that has really high traditional and religious values, that means that they are more than likely going to expect you to follow that to some extent. And if not you, it will be their kids, your kids. I'm just keeping it real. Italy, 13%. So Italians are also very religious. Nigeria, 8%. I already knew that. Y'all done seen the Nigerian churches. The Nigerian churches, what they do they be healing people. There was one, my mom was into it. They would just be doing casting out demons. Casting out demons. Hold up. We did it, Joe. We won. Trump 20. Okay, you know what? You getting blocked, sir. We don't do that here. We're not going to antagonize people who didn't vote for Trump. Hold up. We're going to put you in timeout. 24 hours, yes. No, we ain't do it, Joe. It's over with. We didn't do it. You're not going to antagonize people for voting differently from you. Get out of this channel. This channel is very neutral when it comes to voting, okay? Your political views are your political views. Don't let people try to make fun of you, all right? We did it, Joe. You out. Next. Now, what was I talking about? Nigerian services. Yeah, Nigerian services is something crazy, man. I'm telling you. They be casting out demons. They be blowing in people's faces like, oof, and then people just be falling out. But anyways, they're very religious. Let's just put it that way. So if you marry a Nigerian man, you better put on your best suits, your best dresses, and they be decked out when they go to church. I'm telling you, like church on the motherland is something different. American churches and Canadian churches, Canadian churches, they don't dress up. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to hold you. We don't. No, you just come as you are. Come as you are. American churches are a little different. You know, you got to razzle, especially black churches. You got to put a little razzle dazzle. You got to look a little good. But African churches are on another level. The production, just looking different. I'm telling you, if you're from a country, or if he's from a country, or she's from a country where religion is very important, if you're dating somebody from Nigeria or the other countries I said, you better get ready to go to serve. You're going to go to the service, okay? Or your kids going to the service. Or they believe in different values, okay? Very traditional. Mexico, 12% are opposed to more religion. Mexicans are also very traditional and religious. Argentina, 10%. Same. Poland, 22%. I was shocked about that. So Polish people, I thought they weren't, but they are. They're actually very traditional and religious. Greece. Hold on, my husband's looking for something, y'all. Hold on a second. Honey, what are you looking for? Your laptop? I'll give it to you. Sorry, y'all. Okay. Where was I? Poland. Greece. 10%. Very religious. Japan. 10%. I was shocked about that. I thought Japan wasn't religious. I don't know. So showing something here. They believe in traditional. Maybe it's religion and tradition. They put it together. So Japan is very traditional, actually. South Africa, 8%. South Africa. There was somebody in the chat from South Africa. Y'all tell me, y'all very religious, because that's what the study's saying. Study is saying y'all are super religious. Okay, next. Now, I have to say, the North American, they did they pulled out why people were more religious. They were like, okay, these people believe in more religion. More religion is important, but why? Because normally, you know, Western countries are supposed to be more secular, right? However, they found that in North America, and I'm pretty sure it ties into Europe as well. Yeah, it did. North America, Europe, and Australia, ideology was linked to religion. So y'all saw the person who just said Trump 2024? That's what's tied to religion. So ideology, all right? So now we have right-wing people or right-wing parties, political parties. They're rising. And right-wing values are more traditional, which means that they believe religion is more important. Notice there are a lot of Mormon content creators now. There are a lot of Christian content creators. A lot of people are going back to traditional values. We have to keep that in mind. So it's not just about people from different countries. It's even people within your country. So for example, if you marry an American person, even if you're both American, there might be some ties to religion depending on their ideology. So if they're right-wing, most likely they're traditional. They expect different things. They're going to be the one to tell you, I believe that you should stay home. And again, if that's what you want to do, no problem with that. But I'm just saying that you have to take that into consideration when you're dating, especially if you're dating to get married or you're in a relationship. And especially, I'm going to say this. I'm going to be real with y'all. If you're American, I'm going to use that as an example. And you're from, because I notice more like, okay, exactly, especially Black people, we're more liberal. Ideology-wise, right? Ideologically, we're more liberal. If you date someone from another race or culture, that even if they're a minority, if they're non-Black, they are usually a little more traditional or right-wing, right? They come from cultural expectations that are different. Even the white folks. Don't be fooled. People were shocked. How did Trump get that many votes? How? They're like, I thought that, I didn't imagine it would be this much. 312 electoral college votes. Or electoral colleges, sorry. I think it was 312. I don't remember. But he won by a lot. And it just shows you how traditional America's getting. That's what I'm saying. Don't just be like, oh, these countries are more free, they're more secular, religion doesn't matter. It does matter. They're even trying to put religion back in the schools. And again, I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm a Christian woman. But what I'm saying is that if you're not religious, you have to watch out for that. If you're religious, you need to marry somebody who's also as religious as you. If that is very important to you, is my point. Don't think you can change someone. Because I've noticed a lot of people be like, oh, I'll get with this person and then I'll convert them or I'll influence them. They're not going to be influenced, baby, if they don't want to be. They're not going to be influenced if they don't want to be. You can't change someone. You have to be equally yoked. So if you're a Christian and that is very important to you, do not date someone who's not Christian. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I don't care what nobody tells you. They'll be like, oh, I prayed for you and your husband's going to convert. Convert where? If he doesn't want to, he's not going to do it. We have free will, baby. You can't force me to do something I don't want to do. If your husband is Muslim and you're Christian, y'all got to be neutral. There are some aspects of your religion you might not be able to share with him, and there are some aspects of your religion that he won't be able to share with you. And you have to take that into consideration. If it's something that's super duper important to you and you want your kids to be raised with certain values, do not marry somebody from another religion. It's not going to work for you. Same thing with race. If certain things of your race is very important to you, you cannot marry somebody who doesn't hold those values. It doesn't make sense. And I see that so many times. It does not make sense. You need to be equally yoked in so many areas. If you're more educated and you want somebody who's equally as educated as you, you can't change him and motivate him to go to school. He's not going to do it. How you see the person today is who they're going to be. If you marry somebody who's big, like I tell my husband, you marry me, you know, he never said anything about my weight, obviously, because he married me knowing this is it. If she changes, if she wants to look better for herself, she's going to have to do it herself. But there's no amount of meal plans, no amount of exercising, no amount of going to the gym that's going to make me change for myself. Sorry, that's going to make him change me. I got to change for myself. Dom is into fitness. Y'all see how big my husband is? He a big dude. He's a Tonka truck. He's solid. And look at me. Look at this pudge. Look at this. I'm not a Tonka truck. I'm fluffy. But he knows that's who he met. He met me. I wasn't going to the gym. I was going, but I was going when I felt like it. If I want to take a walk, I want to take a walk. Health is very important. If health and fitness was so important to him, he wouldn't have married me. He shouldn't have married me. Because I'm not the one. I'm not going to be in the gym hustling like that. I should be, though. I ain't going to lie. I should be. And I'm working towards it. But I gotta keep it real. Let's keep it real. I don't go to the gym as much as I should. I like to take walks outside. I like to do those kind of things. I don't like to lift like that. But if I want to do it, it's got to be on my terms, not on his. He has to accept me how I am. So my point is, you got to accept people how they are. You can't just think that you're going to change that person. I know people be like, oh, like they'll bring a person to their family and be like, oh, he's willing to listen to our religion. He's willing to convert. It's just semantics, y'all. Converting on paper and really converting is something different. You can't just marry somebody and then try to convert them. It just doesn't work like that. You can't let your marriage be not a testimony, but you can't let your marriage be an experiment of converting your husband. Oh, God put me on earth so I can marry him, so I could convert him. Good luck. He gonna convert when he want to convert. No amount of church services, no amount of whatever is going to make him change or her change. So let's not be foolish, okay? Let's move on. Sorry, y'all. I be talking. Next, Tunisia, 7%. Tunisians are very religious. Philippines, 7%. Filipino people are very religious. Russia, 12%, very religious. Hungary, 7%, very religious. All right, let's continue. So, hold on. I don't know what my handwriting says here. So I'm trying to figure it out. Okay. We'll just X that one part. So we'll see people who see increasing diversity and think it's a positive change. Okay, so remember, I told you some people saw diversity as a positive change. And mostly, I'm not going to go through all the stats, but highest countries were Canada, US, UK, Spain, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, they kind of basically broke down these stats and made it into smaller stats. I'm not going to go through that because we got more things to cover. All right. So after we read all that, young adults are more likely in favor of diversity in their country. Like I said, when you're young, that's when you explore. You want different things. Supporters of right-wing politics are less in favor of cultural diversity. If your man, you see, this is why when I said, if your man voted for someone who was opposite of who you voted for, you got a problem. Again, I'm not saying that they're wrong for what they believe in. But if you believe in something that's completely different from your spouse, that's somebody you sleep with, somebody you share stuff with, somebody you're going to share family with, children with, this is different from friends. I could have friends that believe whatever they want to believe. I don't care. The more the merrier. But the person I'm sharing my life with, we should equally hold similar values. because that's what's going to transfer to our children. I can't be teaching my child one way and then he coming and completely talking about opposite things. I can't be saying women have rights. You need to respect your girlfriend if you get married. Trying to teach my son how to treat a woman right. And then his father says women are subservient. You don't need to listen to a woman. Imagine the confusion. Imagine. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't work. And even if you take children outside of it, just fundamentally, what are y'all going to talk about? Y'all going to be arguing every day? Like it just, or you just don't talk about it. Some people, they really just don't talk about it. They're like, I don't want to talk about it. So what are we going to talk about? We're not going to deeply really talk about things that are important to us. We're not going to align. So it's just going to be, it's either you talk about it, you discuss it, and you're arguing, or you're going back and forth with your views, and your views different, or you just don't talk about it. But how fair is it for you to be with someone who doesn't understand you and doesn't understand how you feel and what you think in your life experiences, and you guys don't share those similar things? I'm not saying you have to share everything, but those things are fundamentally important. Religion, politics, where you gonna raise your kids, where you gonna live, ideology, all that stuff is very important. So don't take it lightly when you meet someone. Very important. Egalitarian views. Like I said, do you believe that I am equal to you? Young adults and educated people. So young adults and more educated people are more in favor of egalitarian views. So for example, in Argentina, people with less education were 58% in favor of gender equality, whereas people with more education were 81% more in favor of gender equality. So if you marry a man from another country, from another culture, make sure he's educated. That's bar none. I've been said that. And even if you marry somebody from your same race, make sure he's educated. If you're educated, you both should be educated. Like I say, I got a match. In some countries, older adults are more likely to favor a greater role for religion. Like I said, he may not be religious, but mommy and daddy are. So when you take your kids over there, mommy and daddy are indoctrinating them and training them. Y'all gotta be careful. If you have children with somebody and you don't have the same values as them, your husband or wife might not be as traditional as their parents, but their parents might be. When they go to grandma, grandpa's house, what are grandma and grandpa teaching them and telling them? You think you're going to be able to undo that? What are they learning outside versus what they're learning inside? Do you know what their grandparents are teaching them? That's for everybody. It don't even matter. That's universal advice here. What are your parents teaching your kids? What are their parents teaching your kids? That's something we got to keep in mind. Got to keep that in mind. Next, Italy, US, South Korea, Canada, the UK, Australia, Sweden, Brazil, France, Japan, and the Philippines. Older adults are more likely to favor a greater role for religion. That is very true. Dom's parents are very religious. My parents are very religious. Our kids, when they go to their houses, probably gonna have different experiences. But at least we align on those values. So whatever his parents teach our kids about religion, I agree, because I come from the same religious background. Whatever my kids go to Dom's whenever my kids go to my parents' house, Dom will agree with what they're teaching our kids, because that's how we were raised together. We have the same similar values. That's my point. Somebody said the Tonka truck, girl, stop. Truck, yo, he's solid, yo. Sometimes he be hemming me up, be hugging me, and I be like, I can't breathe. Get off her. I love you, but I can't breathe. I'm just kidding. Let me stop. Lil Mama said, that's why the Bible says marry only in the Lord, because when your beliefs contradict, it causes problems. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And, you know, this is something I had to reconcile to as a Christian woman, because I used to date guys who weren't Christian, and I used to think it was okay, because again, I was young. I wasn't thinking. I was like, oh, people make it work. No, you can't spend your life witnessing to your husband. It doesn't make sense. That's craziness. Wouldn't it be easier to just find somebody who has the same values as you? Like, don't try to make a square fit into a peg hole, like a peg fit into a square hole. Sorry, it just don't work. All right, let's continue, y'all, because I've taken up too much time. This live might be a little bit longer, just a little bit, because I want to finish this topic so we can continue to another topic. All right, so how to make it work. All right, I'm going to go into the study that I was really supposed to go into, because that study that I just said was from last week because I didn't get to do it. Now I'm going to get into this one. How long have I been on live? Okay. I've been on live for a minute, an hour. I have 2 hours, 2 hours, 120. Okay, we still have time. So we have 120 minutes. So we have half an hour. All right. So this study was from the University of Toronto. Was it? Oh, no, sorry. The writers of the researchers are from the University of Toronto and from Humber College. So this is a Canadian study, y'all. It's a Canadian study. And it's from 2024. This is from this year. So this is brand new, y'all. This is brand hot off the presses. Hot off the presses. All this paper. I'm going to skim through it, y'all. I'm going to go through it as much as possible. All right. So the article is titled The Lived Experiences of Interracial Couples. Racialized Experiences, Reconciling Differences, and Engendered Strengths. All right. That's a long title. So these two researchers, they are from the Faculty of Social and Community Services. One is from Humber College, and then the other one's from Applied Psychology and Human Development from the University of Toronto. Okay, and Ontario Institute for Studies in Education. So these are very, very intelligent people, all right? So this is a really good study. Now, they had a sample size of 12 interracial couples. So it's very small sample size, this one. And basically, they're going to go in through their experiences and what has worked for these couples, being interracial and intercultural too in some aspects. All right. Now, again, this study's from 2024. I'm going to put it in the description box. Y'all can read it in its entirety later. And from this article, I will give advice on what I think will work for you if you're planning to marry someone, whether interracially or interculturally, because, again, they intertwine. So now let's go through the study. They interviewed 12 couples in racialized white mixed race marriages. So some of the people, majority of the people were married to white Canadians or white people from different countries. And then there were minorities. And then some of them were minorities together. All right. Now, participants ranged from 28 years old to 78 years old. And the number of years of their relationship varied from 2 years to 53 years. So it's a big gap, right? Couples fall in between that. 11 couples were married, and 1 couple was in a common law relationship. 8 couples reported having children. All participants reported having obtained a minimum post-secondary diploma. Listen, all participants reported having a minimum post-secondary in Canada just means university, diploma or degree, or college degree or higher. Basically, remember I said the more educated you are, the more you're going to believe in diversity and interracial relationships. It just works like that because you're more exposed to different things. You're learning, you're growing, you're learning about different things, different concepts. You're meeting new people. Your mind is opening up. All right. 10 couples reported a joint income of greater than 100,000. 1 couple chose not to disclose their income and and 1 couple's retired. Okay, now we went through them. Now let's get to the nitty gritty. So the first thing they were talking about is intergroup anxiety. So when you're in an interracial or intercultural relationship, you're going to notice that you're going to feel left out sometimes. Okay, so this is what they're talking about. They have the anxiety of not belonging. This is very important, y'all. So if you're in an interracial relationship, you need to or intercultural too, you need to listen to this very carefully. All right. Intergroup anxiety is differentiated from social anxiety because of its interracial or intergroup context, which is fear of disapproval. Okay? So in addition to religious parts, language and race also elicited unique experiences and emotions in some interracial relationships. Okay? So they go through some of the experiences of the people. So I'm going to read it so y'all can understand. These are real life people telling you things from Canada. Joy, a Black Nigerian-born Canadian. She shared her experience with a language barrier, particularly in her interactions with her partner's white French-Canadian family. So she's a Black Nigerian. She's married to a white French-Canadian man. And she experiences some form of intergroup anxiety. I already knew, Joy said, I already knew there would be a huge language barrier. Sam, who is her partner, doesn't go home very often. So when he does go home, when he goes back to his hometown, he just speaks French. He's so excited to see everyone, but then I feel left out. A lot of times I just feel like I'm sitting there. I have no idea what's happening, but he has a brother who I think wants to learn more English. So every time he would transfer for me, the brother, not even her husband, his brother had some damn common sense to practice with her, to translate. That warmness and him trying to translate and get me in conversations was really nice, was very nice. I'm gonna give y'all the advice right now. So every time I read some, advice is coming. Just take your notes right now. Now, why is his brother the one with some common sense to translate? Okay. My advice to you, just based off of that, is to learn the ins and outs of your partner's culture. Now, I gotta give Joy credit a little bit, but not too much, because she said there's a language barrier. Now, I don't know how long they've been married, so I don't want to judge her. But she needs to learn, you need to learn your partner's language. At least a little bit. Enough to get by. You need to understand what's going on. And I know it takes time, because I'm guilty of it too. I only know Korean at an elementary level. So there's some things I don't understand. And I need to be accountable for this too. And I'm trying to get myself to a better level. But you got to understand your partner's language, because when they go to family events and gathering, especially if the family is very important to him, you're going to be feeling left out. Whether it's Serbian, Korean, Portuguese, Afrikaans. They speak English though, so you're good if you speak English. French, Italian, English in some cases, Indonesian, so many different countries. Japanese, you got to learn some of it. Some of it. And it doesn't have to be extensive, because I know language learning is a whole, it's a commitment. But you got to learn something. Because sometimes your partner's not going to be there to translate. And this ties into my second advice. You need to include your partner in family conversations. So if her husband should have been the one including her in conversations, not his brother. This don't make no sense. So I would advise you guys to do this, right? I'm not saying your partner has to babysit you, but they should be aware of where you are at all times. And you should, if you're the person, they're going to your family's house, you need to make them feel comfortable. They need to be sitting somewhere where you can see them and you're there and you're talking to them at the same time. You're talking to your parents at the same time in your language, if their level is not that high. Dom does that. Whenever I go to my in-laws' house, Dom is always there. He always says after, he's like, oh, my head hurts because I have to translate so much. But he's always in between. And sometimes they'll be doing they'll be having their own conversation, but I have already excused myself. I'm already doing something else. I'm just sitting there, I'm listening, and I'm trying to sit there. I might not understand fully what's happening. I just sit there, nod my head. But at least some parts of the way he stops, and then he's like, hey, honey, are you okay? You good? Then they continue. That's it. You got to start being more aware of that. If you speak another language and your partner doesn't speak it and he has to meet your family, you need to be aware. I know it's exciting to see your family and you start to get to talking and stuff, but y'all got to be aware of your partner being there. Next. Okay. One person said that I feel like anytime I introduce anyone to my extended family, my Filipino family, I have to do a whole spiel. Okay, so you're gonna meet my aunts. They might talk to Tagalog around you, and you won't understand. That's normal. They're not being rude. That's just how they are. Versus, in the past, I actually dated somebody that was, this is another person. This is a Filipino person that's saying this in the study. My bad, I didn't say that. In the past, I actually dated somebody that was Filipino, and I didn't feel like I had to do any of that. I guess it's interesting how culture played a big role in that. Tanya, whoever said this, talking about she gets tired of introducing her partner to her family and saying they're gonna speak Tagalog and he might not understand it. Ma'am, you don't need to be tired. You chose this. You chose this. You can't get tired that they don't understand your language. You can't get tired of I'm tired of translating. You married that person. Deal with it. Okay? So if you're tired of translating and you're not the type of person to be patient and educating people, you don't need to be interracially or interculturally marrying. Please do not. Spare people. Spare them. Okay? Spare them from you. If you're too tired and you don't have the patience to be teaching people about your culture, your language, all these things, I ain't got time. Do not marry somebody from another country or culture. Stick with your own. It'll just be easier for you. Don't do that. Do the community a favor and do not intermarry or interracially, culturally date. It's not for you. And Tanya, that's a red flag. You can't be tired of introducing a partner and saying, hey, they might speak another language. Ma'am. Okay. Next. I'm going to continue. Oh, sorry. Before I said that, I said language. You need to learn their language. I forgot to add. You need to learn your partner's holidays. What holidays are important in their culture? You need to learn. Is it Lunar New Year? Is it holy? What is it? You need to learn that. Family traditions. What family traditions do they have? Do they go to the pumpkin patch every year? If you're American, even if you're in the same race relation, or sorry, not even same race, what am I saying? You're with another American, but they're from a different race. You need to learn what's important in their culture. You need to learn. Do they go to the pumpkin patch every year? Do they have gang night? Do they like camping in the wild? Does his family like to do that? Do they have family traditions of where they go to church every Sunday together? Do they eat one meal a month together as an extended family? My family has New Year's every January 1st in Montreal. All the family begin together. Nah, I don't be there. I ain't got time for all that fest. Some of my family members, I could stay away forever. But that's traditions to know. How tied are they to family traditions? You got to know that. Food. What kind of food do they have? How do they eat? That's important too. Important. How do they eat? Do they eat with a fork and a knife? Because this is the thing. Western culture doesn't do a good job of showing different traditional ways of eating. We think that everybody eats with a spoon, a fork, and a knife. But guess what? Some people eat with their hands. You gonna dig in that food and eat? Or you just gonna be like, can I have a knife and a fork? If he eats chopsticks, if family eat chopsticks, you better eat chopsticks. You better learn. When I went to Korea, I remember I went out with my coworkers and I tried to eat with chopsticks for the first time. It was embarrassing. I kept dropping the chopsticks everywhere. I was like, oh Lord, I can't be embarrassing other people's country not knowing how to eat chopstick with chopsticks. Guess what I did? I went on YouTube and I studied. I bought me a pair of chopsticks from Daiso. Very cheap chopsticks. I threw all the forks and spoons away in my house. I didn't throw them away, actually. I didn't even buy them. But that's besides the point. I made sure that I only bought chopsticks until I learned. So every day I was practicing, and guess what? I didn't even know I was going to meet my husband, but I just felt like it was like something I should culturally know. Because I'm in people's country, I should know how to eat with chopsticks because majority of people eat with chopsticks. I'm not going to sit at a restaurant and say, can I get a fork and a spoon, please? No, they have spoons though. But can I get a fork and a knife? No. So once I learned how to use chopsticks, it was so funny because every time I would go out with people, Korean people especially, people, oh my God, you hold chopsticks so well. I'm like, yeah, you don't know how many times I had to practice that. But by the time I fast forward, remember I was living in Korea at least for 3 years before I met Dom. By the time I met Dom, his parents were so impressed. Just by me simply knowing how to eat with chopsticks. Because I remember they was like, oh, do we need a fork? And then Dom's like, nah, my wife got, well, I was his fiance at the time. My fiance got it. She know how to use chopsticks. You would have thought that I was a Nobel Prize winner. Oh my God, you really learned? Yes. 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요, 엄마. 잘 지내셨어요? 네. 롬이에요. 감사합니다. There you go. You gotta learn little phrases. Learn little phrases. 음식 너무 맛있어요. 감사합니다. 네. Thank you for the food. Thank you. You gotta learn those things. Next. Yeah, do they eat with their hands? You better dig in there. You better dig in there. Religion. What religious observations do they follow? If he is Muslim and he observes Ramadan for 40 days and 40 nights, he fasted. If you're not Muslim, you better be fasting with your man or your woman. Now, I know that's extreme because some people gonna be like, oh no, I have a different religion. You gotta support your spouse. You can't date someone from another culture or marry them and not expect to partake in their traditions. It just doesn't make sense to me. If he's fasting for Ramadan, you better be supporting him. I'm not saying you got to get into all the religious aspects, but you can support your man. He ain't eating from sun up to sundown. Okay, you gonna try not to do that too. You gonna be there with him. Show him support. He can't just be watching you eat steaks and then he's sitting here fasting. That's crazy. But then why would you marry somebody that you can't support? There you go. If there's Diwali, there's a Diwali festival. I hope I said it right, Diwali. There's a Diwali festival every year. The Indian community, they're deep in them streets. And I be seeing folks from different cultures in there with their spouses. They be, they be dancing. They would dance, and I remember they offered me some samosas too. I was like, yeah, man, let me partake. I saw this Caucasian man and his wife. They were up in there with their kids celebrating. And I said, yes, that's right. You go, white man. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You supporting your wife and her people. If your wife going to the temple, you going to the temple with her. If your husband going to the temple, you going to the temple with him. Vice versa. If you're going to church, he's going to church with you. Supporting you. I'm not saying he got to partake in everything, but at least observe something, right? Easter. Rosh Hashanah. Cinco de Mayo. If you got a husband, I believe Cinco de Mayo is Mexico. If he Mexican and he celebrates Cinco de Mayo, you better be with him supporting. Yeah, I'm going to go. That's my man. That's my wife. We're going to go to the Cinco de Mayo parade. That's what I'm talking about. If he's white, if he's a southerner, and he goes to the honky-tonk, you better go to the honky-tonk with him. You gonna go to the honky-tonk. Now, for my country folks, whoever listen to country music, what's a honky-tonk? Because I hear it in so many songs. That's why I'm saying that. They be going, there's one song, I go down to the honky-tonk. You better go down to the honky-tonk with your husband. You better get them cowboy boots ready. If his family likes to go to the honky-tonk, you better go to the honky-tonk. His family likes to go do karaoke, you better go with them. Cookouts for my black folks. Your family likes to have big family reunions, and your partners from another race, they better be partaking in that experience. They better be helping your mama and your daddy cook. They got to be immersed. My point is be immersed in the ins and out of the culture. Do not be like Tanya and be tired every time you got to explain, oh, this is my language, da-da-da-da-da. Y'all, both of you have to do the work. So if you're going to partake in their culture, they have to partake in yours. That's just how it works. Equally. Okay. Or you're going to choose a neutral culture that you both can partake in, where maybe you don't feel like your culture is more important, his culture is not more important, then you guys could be more neutral. And we're going to see that in the study. Let me continue. So, discrimination, racism, and prejudice. So remember, I'm giving tips on how to make it work from these couples because they give tips too. Lexi said, my mom doesn't think that races should mix. The most out of her culture she has is a Portuguese friend. So Lexi is a white Canadian born participant, and her husband is black, I believe. Yeah, her husband is African. So she's white Canadian, husband's African. So her mom said she doesn't think racism should mix. The most of her culture she has is a Portuguese friend. I think it's a lot of unknown. So we're talking about racial discrimination. Some of these couples, sorry, I didn't give the context. Some of these couples reported racial discrimination in their family. Okay. It's a lot of stereotypes that come from Italy and the history between Italy and Africa and colonization. Lexi also shared that there was a significant reformation of her mother's initial belief, evident in complete acceptance of her partner by her mother. So her mama was racist. I'm going to continue with somebody else's experience. So this one was a Sri Lankan born wife, and she's married to a white Welsh husband. Okay, so these are very racialized people, y'all. First couple, Lexi, Canadian, and her husband's from Africa. Or it didn't say which, oh no, yeah, it didn't say which country, unfortunately. And then these people, wife is Sri Lankan born, and the husband is of white Welsh descent. So this man said he took his wife, so he's giving his experience too. He took his wife, his Sri Lankan wife, to Wales to get married. The worst mistake I ever made. My mother was not pleased. She called Wolf a flat-footed coolie. My mother took off. The night before my wedding, I didn't know if my mother would turn up. Our son had autism. I'm quite sure that they blame Wolf's side of the family for that. Well, that's what happens when you marry a non-white, a colored guy. You get autistic kids, you get abnormal kids. My mother, she very likely said that. Okay, so basically his mom, my bad, because they put both quotes together. So from what I could gather, his mama took off, ran off the plug twice. The night before the wedding, she wasn't having it. She caused a scene. And then on her side, she's Sri Lankan. Her mama thought that because the kid is autistic, that it's because she married a white man. Now, this goes into the advice I kind of tied into that last week. You need to start checking your families, y'all. You need to run interference. You need to be running interference. Now, this is my take on this whole situation. From the two examples I gave you, they knew their peoples was racist. Now, I don't believe that people don't know their parents are racist. There are signs and wonders. Now, either you're delusional or you're optimistic. And you can't be delusional and optimistic in an interracial relationship. I hate to tell y'all that. You can't just be like, well, my parents they're not too kind to black people, but I'm going to bring my partner to the house and maybe they'll warm up to him. No. You need to run interference. If you strongly feel that this relationship is what you want, you need to start getting your parents ready and prepared before they meet your spouse. They should already have their mind changed. I'm not going to sit here and try to teach you how to treat my person. Sorry, y'all. I got this. Now, my advice is to create distance and form strong boundaries, especially if they're against that person's race or culture. You need to check your family members and be ready to cut them off. I know this is very controversial. If they are not showing willingness to change and to learn, there's a reason for that. If you are bringing someone into your family and you know that your parents are not too fond of that race or culture and they have these negative stereotypes, you better be careful about who you introduce your spouse to. And you have to show a willingness that you're going to cut them off. I'm sorry to say that. I know it's tough, easier said than done, but sometimes you got to show people. Because if you're not willing to cut them off, meaning that if they're not willing to learn and willing to change, and it seems like Lexi's mom's changed, but it seemed like the other guy's mom, she left the night before the wedding. That should give you all the signs you need to know. It's the biggest day of your life, and your parents are ruining it for you by doing this whole like theatrical, dramatic stuff when they're supposed to be celebrating you and your partner. That's a red flag. And why would you want your partner around those people so you can build that anxiety in them? That's stressful. It's stressful. So I would recommend that if you have a relationship with your parents and you know your parents don't like the person that you're with because of their race or culture, it doesn't have to do with their personality. Like, let's say if their personality is shitty and your parents don't like them, that's a different situation. I'm talking about just off the strength of she is this or he is this and I don't like them folks. You need to be prepared to cut them off. I'm sorry. Or if it's hard for you to cut them off, you gonna have your relationship with your parents, but you should not bring your spouse into there because it's dangerous. It's dangerous. It is dangerous for your spouse to be around them. I'm not saying that they're gonna threaten them or do something harmful to them, but they're harming their confidence. They're giving them anxiety. You shouldn't do that. Do not introduce someone to your parents who your parents are not fond of. And even if they say, oh, I'm willing to meet that person, you better make sure they really are willing to meet that person on a real basis and not on the, oh, I just want to do it because you're making me do it. Because some parents will do that. Oh, you made me do it, so I'm going to meet him and I still don't like him anyways. I'm going to try to open my mind up. Because some people do that. Let's be real. Some people will be like, you're not going to change my mind anyways, but I'm still going to meet this person just so I can prove that I don't like them anyways. And they'll find a reason not to like you anyways. It don't matter. And even if they do change to like you, because sometimes that does happen where the parents do change how they feel about the person. I just feel like it's just too dangerous in the beginning. You got to make sure they're really committed to changing their viewpoints and how they feel about that race and that person. If not, your children are going to experience the harmful effects of that if you have children. Or your spouses, because every time they get around them, if they haven't reconciled the feelings and trying to unlearn about the discrimination and racism that they feel towards people, it's going to be a problem for you. And we see that manifesting all the time. Let's continue. Okay, so how the couple share strategies to address, cope, and reconcile the variances. So they basically found that they, like, how the couples kind of like overcame discrimination and different things that interracial couples go through, right? So their strategies were A, arranging and organizing their differences in distinctive ways, B, employing coping, and 3, doing problem-solving strategies. Okay, so I'm going to continue a little bit more. Oh, shoot. Okay, I'm just going to run a little bit over time today. So this is important advice. All right, so this is a couple where it's a Black Canadian person of Jamaican ancestry and a Black Canadian Ethiopian, okay? So Black Canadian who's Jamaican, and he's married to a Black Canadian who's Ethiopian. Okay, remember I said intercultural. Reggie said, we kind of merge both our cultures. Remember what I said? You gotta understand each other's culture. Lydia said, whenever we can incorporate opportunities to practice different aspects of our cultures together, we'll do things that are a part of Robert's culture, and we'll do things that's a part of my culture. Active participation, that's what's making it work. Active participation in each other's culture. The importance of maintaining aspects of a minoritized culture was highlighted by Sam. All right, so this is another person that said, Joy's culture being the minority. So remember, this was the guy from before. Joy's culture being the minority, it's more important that we try to attach it. For me, the only thing that matters really is the language. Very important for my kids to speak French. It's important for me, or it's important to me that they understand both sides of the culture. Where does Joy come from? So his Nigerian wife, this is a white man. In Nigerian culture, the food, even though I don't prefer the food, so he's being honest. He's like, I don't really like jollof rice. I don't like jollof rice. I don't like jollof rice. That's what he's saying. Jollof rice is Nigerian, right? I think so. Is fufu Nigerian? I don't like fufu. I ain't with it. But he said, even though I don't prefer the food, I love to be able to cook it so that they can experience it. Because I find that we identify a lot by food that we eat and by the language we speak. So this white Canadian man had enough sense to know, I may not like fufu. I may not like to eat with my hands. I may not like to do different things in a culture, but I'm going to do it for the sake of my kids and for the sake of valuing my partner's culture, for the sake of me putting my expectations and selfishness aside to put my partner first and what they're going through and their plight. That's important. And sorry, I misspoke. I said that Reggie and Lydia, I said that there's a intercultural relationship, but no, that's wrong. That was they're both the Black Canadian born Jamaican and the girl, the Black Canadian woman of Ethiopian ancestry, are not married to each other. They're married to their interracial partners. All right, I had to clear that up. Next, yeah, you have to be willing to embrace your partner's culture, even if you don't particularly like some aspects of it. For example, I don't like how Korean kids study. It's not my thing. I don't like that. I don't like certain aspects of Korean culture. I think it's just too hierarchical, but I respect it for the sake of my husband, right? So you gotta be willing to do that if you want to make your interracial relationship work. Next, in some couples, they incorporated some elements of both cultures, and some other couples, they maintain aspects of their own culture, and the partner held a supportive role. So if both people are not combining their culture, another strategy is for the person who has the dominant culture, they're the ones who continue to practice, and then the other person who's maybe neutral is just a supportive partner. That works too. Jack, he says, I love Jewish holidays. I love Muslim holidays. So basically, they're a Jewish and Muslim couple. I love celebrating Bangladeshi New Year. I encourage her family and I to go to Bangladeshi New Year celebration because I want to support her. So his partner is from Bangladesh. Okay? He's okay. He doesn't mind. He's neutral. She keeps halal. So she don't eat nothing if it's not halal. We gotta pray over the food the right way, which is respectful. Halal food be good though. I don't know. Halal meat just tastes way better, in my opinion. She keeps halal. I agree from day one that our daughter and her would stay halal. And then our home, we will only have halal food here. If I go out, I love pepperoni and bacon and things like that. But in the house, I respect that. This is a respectful spouse. So he may not partake in her culture as much as her because she's the dominant culture. But he says, you know what? It's okay. You're going to keep what you got going on. I'm not going to try to change you. I'm not going to try to make you eat pork and bacon. Imagine how she would feel if he's frying up bacon in the house. Frying up that cooking, whipping the bacon in the kitchen. And then they're using the same utensils. House smelling like meat. That hasn't been properly done the halal way. And she has to stay there. And he's like, it's my culture. I'm just going to do what I want. You just going to have to respect it. It has to be an agreement between both of you guys. I said that earlier in the chat. There has to be an agreement. Both of y'all gotta, some people, maybe one person has to concede. If you're both dominant and you have dominant views and dominant culture, it's not gonna work. One person has to be neutral, or both of you have to incorporate each culture. You can't just say my culture is better and then try to duke it out. It's just not gonna work for you. Next, Wendell. He's white from British ancestry, okay? And his, it didn't say where his partner's from, but she's from somewhere else. I don't abide by any particular religious affiliation. I made a promise to the priest upon marriage that I would have my kids go to Catholic school. And from time to time go for Christmas and whenever it was important to go. He made an effort. He said, look, I'm agnostic. I don't believe in nothing right now. I'm okay. I'm agnostic. I don't really believe in that. But my wife is Catholic. I married her in a Catholic church. I'm going to be neutral and I'm going to support her. And our kids, we agree, okay, I may not be as religious as you, but our kids are going to go to Catholic school. I made that agreement. No problem. But then you can't, like I said, you got to make concessions. There's got to be concessions. You both can't be dominant. Something's got to give. All right. And then this is a third way. So if there's no dominant, or if both people just like a third culture better, then you can do that. So for example, this couple, they both decided to follow Canadian culture because they're like, look, I don't really care about my culture. I don't like it. She don't care about her culture. She don't like her culture either. Let's just do Canadian culture. We're both in Canada. When in Rome, do as the Roman. When in Canada, do as the Canadians. And we're just going to build a new culture for our family. That's possible too. So that's a third way. Okay. Next, this one was, they created a global worldview. Okay, this one is very important. This is another strategy. So this couple, they kind of incorporated elements from their other race and cultures that extended beyond the borders of their own racial identity. So they didn't just use stuff from their own culture. They used stuff from other people's culture that they picked up from wherever they traveled, and then they brought it back home. Sometimes that happens too. What if I like how Italians, like for example, one of my friends, she was in my vlog, Letitia, shout out to her if she watches this. She loves Japanese culture. She was like, hey, she's married to a Chinese man. She's French. They have a half Chinese, half French child, a half white child, but she loves aspects of Japanese culture. Go figure. Go figure. So anyway, let's continue. So this couple, okay, so there's a wife from Filipino ancestry, and her husband is French and German. Her husband said, our strategy is just not just merging our cultures, but embracing a lot of different cultures. And Susan said, it's not necessarily based on our backgrounds. Henry and I have traveled quite a bit. So we're world traveled. We're very well traveled. We really appreciated learning from others. Different cultures and traditions. We're interested in providing that for our son as well. And openness. Different ways of doing things and living and being and eating and all that kind of stuff. And intentionality to just expose our son to different things. That works as well, y'all. That works as well. So these kind of strategies work to mitigate the cultural differences. All right, let's continue. So people said they just have to be flexible to make up their own rules. We already went through that. Some people like to have Christmas trees. Some people don't. Anyways, find what works with you and your partner. All right, now problem solving. This is where it gets tough. Now, I'm gonna go, hold on, what time is it? It's 10:06. Okay, we're gonna do just a little bit more because I went over a little bit. But technically, I talked to y'all for like half an hour. So, okay, we're gonna keep going. So, no. I said I talked to them for half an hour. I'm not gonna stay too long. It's already 10:06. I gotta go. My husband looking at me. Okay, I'm gonna continue quickly. So, next, the couples highlighted that communication, embracement, education, learning, and negotiation were key strategies to tackling their differences. All right, so these couples basically said that they have to be open-minded and communicate, and they have to feel be comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. Okay, so Jill, so she is let me see if they have her nationality here. No, they don't have her nationality, but I'm gonna highlight what Jill said because she said something important. She said the number one reason why we've been super strong as a couple, when we got back together and intentionally talked, we felt like, oh my God, our religions would never meet in the middle. Our differences are too much. But when we really dug deep, what does being a Muslim mean to you? What does being a Jewish Christian mean to you? I feel like there's a lot of commonalities, then there were differences. We're gonna touch on that. Lydia, I think she's Ethiopian and Italian relationship. Lydia said it's so easy to come with that rigidity of I'm in my Ethiopian lane, you're in your Italian lane, to think about our own perspective, our own views, our own racial and cultural set of values. Being open-minded, communicating effectively, and having a deep love for one another have been our biggest relationship assets in navigating the nature of our mixed relationship. All right, so basically, again, like I said, being comfortable with being uncomfortable. This is very important. Luca, he's a white Canadian born person. Okay, I'm going to say a little bit of what he said. He said, having a conversation about it is the most important things when talking about different racial discrimination and different things, right? And different cultural expectation. Let's talk about it. Let's acknowledge it. Acknowledge your feelings. and just have a conversation about it. You need space to talk about the things on the news or things around us that are topical or worse. Specific situations that hurt, open-minded questions can be great. Okay? And they go on to say sharing with what other people have said, what they think, and all those other things, okay? And one more important thing is having your partner stand up for you and kind of advocate for you. So I'm going to read 2 more things, and then I'm going to give this advice that I have to give, and then I'm closing out. So Joy said, so these are 2 Black female participants that are married to Caucasian men, so men of other race. Joy said, Sam and I had a serious conversation about race, right? He was like, what can I do? And I'm like, use your platform. You're a white male. Use that platform when you're in a room with other people who may talk about women, Blacks, or different religion, or gays and lesbians. Stop that. Don't encourage that. And then he's like, her partner, he says, I want to join the diversity inclusion blank. It was really nice to see that Sam was not just like, are you okay? But said, I want to get involved somehow, and I want to see what I can do to help. So this was post the George Floyd situation. So she explained to her husband how she felt. And instead of him just dismissing her or just kind of being like, whatever, he actually acknowledged how she felt and took actionable steps to make sure that he was able to do what she would want, or what is better, like what she would expect. How can I say this? He took actionable steps to actually do something about it and not just be like, are you okay? Oh, okay, that's sad. No, he knew that his wife was hurting. He knew that there's something he could do as a white male, and he did it. And he participated in that. That's important. Lydia is another person. She said, he stood up for me. So this is in any situation. Your spouse should be standing up for you. He shot it down. Okay, so he stood up for her. I guess like something happened. He shot it down. Shoot it down, but also go beyond. Do the educational piece. It takes a lot of burden and weight off of me as a racialized person not to have to carry the burden and weight of educating white people, which can be sort of re-traumatizing. So I appreciate that he takes the lead, especially when it's coming from his family. When your family starts saying things that don't sound right, and it start to be like, hold on a second, wait, mom and dad, you're going a little too far about different topics of how you feel. It may not be nice to hear, but he's checking them. He is checking them for his wife, so she doesn't have to keep carrying that. That's something that's very important for communication. So I'm going to leave with this advice because I got to get going. I've been yapping too much, but I'm going to say something. All right. Somebody said, Lufa said, everyone always says things that don't sound right. Yes. Yes. Hold on. Lil Mama says something. The translation thing is true. Like, I have to be at least halfway fluent as well. Yes, you do. So, yes, sometimes people say things that don't sound right. But not everyone always says something. But sometimes people's biases do come out. And it could be small things. They're just talking about how they feel about, they maybe watch something on the news. Oh, you saw, like maybe you're having a family dinner, Thanksgiving, and they're coming up in some countries this week in America. You might be at the dinner table. And then somebody might come up and say, oh, they're trying to deport all these Mexicans. I think it's a good thing. And then knowing damn well your wife is from Mexico. Oh, Mexicans are here, da-da-da-da. That rhetoric, that's what I'm talking about. You got to check people. Even when you're at work, sometimes people say some ignorant things. Oh, I heard they do this. I heard they do that. Somebody said, do you like Israel? I like every country. Why are you asking that? I love Israel just like I love Argentina. There are people that are lovely there. I'm sure it's a beautiful place somewhere. There's always something beautiful. We're gonna make sure you're not gonna stir up something. All right, communication strategies. So this is what I'm gonna close with because I gotta get going. Communication strategies, and this is what I learned in project management that I think could apply to your lives too, okay? So these are 4 levels how to openly communicate with people or openly communicate with anyone, whether you're interracial or intercultural, but especially if you're in an interracial and intercultural relationship. Number 1, so this is from a theory from Otto Scheimer, and it's called Theory U. And it basically teaches you how to organize your thoughts. So remember, these couples, they said what works for them is organizing their thoughts. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know why my nose is itching. It's so weird. But yeah, organize your thoughts and how to have open conversations. Remember, you have to be open or be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Okay? So 4 levels of communication is 1, you're going to observe what the person's saying, okay? Or what actually happened. So you're going to observe. So 4 ways: observe, thinking, feeling, wanting. The first part is observe. So when you have a disagreement with your partner or spouse or whoever, you have to observe what actually happened, what took place, and you're going to think about it rationally, okay? This is the facts of the relationship, what actually took place. 2, thinking. What does that make me think? So what happened? What does it make me think? Number 3, feeling. How does it make me feel? How do I feel about it? That's how you express yourself. And number 4, wanting. What do you want? What do I want? We got to come to a resolution. Okay, so how does this look in a real life example? Let's say that a situation happened. I'm at the dinner table. I'm eating my chicken. I'm eating my turkey. I'm just grubbing. And then I hear somebody say, did you hear Trump was talking about Haitians eating cats? Those people, man, they must love eating pets. I hear that from my, let's say we at Korean Thanksgiving. They're like, yeah, I heard Haitian people eat cats. Do your parents eat cats, Romy? They probably wouldn't say it like that. But they might. You might be like, yeah, I heard Haitian people eat cats. They said they eat pets. They're eating pets in Springfield, Ohio. That's craziness. You see what's going on in Haiti is so bad over there. They're just destroying everything. Those people, I feel so sorry for them, but they got to get their act together. They need to figure it out. Why are they coming here in droves? We don't need more immigration. I don't know. They could say something like that. Something insensitive. I don't know. Who knows? But in any case, if that actually happened, and my in-laws were just talking generally, they're just talking about Haitian people. They know I'm Haitian. But sometimes you say stuff and you're not even realizing it because you're just seeing it on the news. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is crazy. These people, da 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 da. Okay. Observe. It could be like that, extreme like that, or it could be something simple. What if, I'm out with Dom and then, I say something or I go around or I'm starting to walk and then somebody says in Korea, like let's say we're in Korea and I'm walking and then somebody says, oh my God, I can't believe he's with a black woman. That could be something like that. It could be something small. Or it could be like I cook him some Haitian food and then he's like, he just eats it. He's like, I don't really like this. Not my style. It's not my style. Okay. So now let's see how we're going to communicate. So 1, we're going to say what actually happened. Okay. So I'm going to continue doing the first example. Let's say that they were talking about Haitians eating cats or whatever at the dinner table. And I overheard the conversation. Okay. What actually happened? So I would tell Dom, hey, like let's say we talk about it afterwards. Hey, I was sitting at the table and I overheard them talking about Haitian people eating cats. Is that what actually happened? And then he's going to explain to me, oh yeah, my parents were just watching a news article and just speaking on it. And they just said this. Okay, that's his factual base, my factual base. Then thinking, what does it make me think? I can say, well, I understand that they just saw it on the news and stuff, but some of their comments was really making me think that they don't like Haitian people or they have this negative stereotype of Haitian people. Okay? And then Dom could just be like, well, I think my parents were just giving their commentary. They always watch news shows every day and they just watch anything all the time. Like, it doesn't really matter because they just comment on everything. It's not just Haitian people. They comment on Korean people too. Like, anything they see, that's just what they do. So that's how we both think. Feeling. How does it make me feel? Well, I feel that as somebody with Haitian background, I just feel like it was insensitive for them to bring it up at the table. Like, I just think that that's an inappropriate conversation. It's Thanksgiving. We're just having a good time. Like, I just think that it was a little too much for them to bring up. That's just my opinion. And then Nam could be like, well, I don't think it's a problem. Like, it's just Thanksgiving dinner. We always do that at my family. But then we go back to me. But I just feel like it's, me, I'm a guest at the home. And also, it's very sensitive for me because, this is my culture. Like, for them, they're just speaking about anything. But for me, that's my culture. Okay, so we expressed our feelings, right? Wanting. So then after we express our feelings, we go through it. What do you want? So me, What do I want? I just want us to just have, like, can you just tell your family, like, gently, like, I don't know if you can talk to them, but just let them know, like, how, like, I just don't want to have those kind of serious conversations at Thanksgiving, because it just makes me feel very uncomfortable. And I'm not used to that. You know, I wasn't raised like that, right? That's what I would like out of this situation. And he can choose to agree or disagree. But I would hope he would agree and be like, you know what? You're right. I heard your viewpoint. You're correct. You know, maybe we shouldn't have said that. I'm really sorry that you felt that way. It wasn't intentional. I'm sure my parents didn't mean it. They really, really like you. So I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to talk to my parents and I'm going to handle it. Don't worry about it. And the next time we go over, next year for Thanksgiving, guess what? We talking about pets and cats. Not pets and cats. Ooh, wrong topic. We talking about football. We talking about sports. We talking about everything but pets and cats. That's what I meant to say. So he sets that boundary with his family. By the way, your spouse has to be the one to check his parents. You can't do it. You can never do it. Don't ever think you're going to walk up to his parents and say, you made me feel this way. Never. If ever I have a disagreement about something that his parents did or said, which I haven't yet, but in that case, we've already established, you handle your parents, I'm going to handle my kinfolk, because I know how to deal with my parents. He know how to deal with his parents. There you go. So that's an example of how to organize your arguments and communication skills so that way you can have open communication. And remember, you can't do it in the heat of the moment. So if you're too angry, do not have a serious conversation. It will not end well. Trust me, this is from experience. You got to do it when you've cooled down and you really collected your thoughts. So my advice would be to go through these 4 steps alone first before you bring it to your husband or your wife. And hopefully they will also go through those 4 steps themselves and you guys can have an open dialogue. Okay? So now, one more thing before I leave. It's 10:20. I got to get going in 5 minutes. There are 4 levels of listening. My husband's laughing, but this is important because it ties into the 4 levels of communication. 4 levels of listening. Okay. So, first, reacting. Second, redesigning. 3, reframing. 4, regenerating. These are all from change management. So, change management is basically what it takes for someone to change. Okay, so how people perceive things. That's what change management means in project management, but I think it's useful in everyday life. There's so many transferable skills from different industries that you can use in your own personal life. That's a fun fact. So 4 levels of listening. So this is how you actively listen. Okay. First, there are 4 types of levels of listening. First is usually people react first. So when you're listening to something, usually the first thing your mind does is listen to past patterns or past things that have happened. You try to connect it to past things, okay? So the first part is you're downloading. So usually the first part of listening is the most like you're quickly going through facts. You're trying to filter because you're not listening to what everyone says. Just letting you guys know. When you have conversations, most of the time, you don't listen to everything. You don't internalize everything. You get the key points, right? And then you try to relate it to something. That's usually what our brains do. But then the second level is redesign. So first level, you're going to listen quickly to what they're saying. Okay. And then you're going to tie it to something. Be like, oh, wait, what? What do you mean? Oh, you mean this. Okay. Second is factual listening. So after you've downloaded what they've said, that's when you do the redesigning. That's when you say, okay, so you're saying this. Am I understanding that? Am I understanding that? If they say yes, you're on the right track. You're actually listening. If they say, no, that's not what I'm saying. You ain't listening enough. You need to go back. You need to listen. Third step is reframing. So now you're going to kind of reframe what they said. Okay. So remember, first step is you're just reacting. You're just downloading. Second step is you're saying, okay, is this what you're saying? You're saying this. Is that right? If they say yes, you're going to continue to the third step. This is where you practice empathy. Whatever they're saying, you're going to practice empathy because you got to be empathetic in this step. So you're going to say, so what you're saying is I hurt you? Oh my, I didn't mean to do that. I'm so sorry. That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. I meant this. Or if you said it and you're like, you know what? I was wrong for saying that. I'm so sorry. It must have made you feel this way. You must have felt this way when I did that, didn't you? You must have felt that way. And then you say sorry. Or you apologize, or you try to understand their point of view. That's when you put yourself in their shoes. And then the last one is regenerating. You got to be committed to what you want to do next. Regenerating. Okay? So after you listen to everything and you had the empathy for your partner, next is regenerating. You're going to take actionable steps to correct it and commitment to correct it. That's usually the hardest part. That's where we all fail. We all fall short. We all fall. Okay? But in those steps of communication, okay, you have to go beyond your personality and look at yourself critically. You need to be self-aware. So when you're in these interracial, intercultural relationships, you need to be self-aware a lot. So if you want to get into an interracial relationship, practice your self-awareness methods. You need to be self-aware because there's so many things that they're going to pull out of you that you didn't even know. There's so many things that you probably thought that you didn't feel or how you felt, and it comes out because of how you were raised, especially when you have views and you might have stereotypes, even if they're subtle. You might have stereotypes or some type of things that you have to unlearn, and you have to be self-aware, and you have to be extremely sensitive. You have to be extra sensitive when you're in an interracial relationship. So you need to practice sensitivity. You need to practice self-awareness. You need to practice advocacy. So you need to advocate for your spouse, and you need to practice negotiation. And if you can practice all those 4 things, your marriage is going to be successful. I can almost guarantee that. And I'm not a gambling woman. But if you practice those things in any relationship, but especially in interracial relationships, you are going to be A-okay. And that, my friends, is how you make it work, okay? So I had other stats and stuff, but I'm not going to bring that up. It's a lot, y'all. It's a lot. Oh, wait, maybe quickly, because we still got 3 minutes before I got to jet out of here. All right, so if you're interested in being in an interracial relationship, all right, if you're interested in Canada, these are the top countries where interracial couples live. All right, I'm going to let y'all know that. Vancouver, Toronto, Victoria, where I live, there's a lot of interracial couples. Calgary, Ottawa, Edmonton, Oshawa, it's in Ontario, Montreal, Winnipeg, Hamilton. These cities have a lot of interracial couples. So if you want to be in an interracial relationship and you want your relationship to thrive and to be around other people who can share the same experiences and you guys can connect, these are the cities in Canada. All right, Europe. I have Europe, and then I have, okay, in America too. America. Okay, most common states that have interracial marriage and relationships where you can live. Another advice. Hawaii, Nevada, California, North Carolina, certain places in Florida. So I'm going to go through the cities. Honolulu, Hawaii, Las Vegas, Nevada, Santa Barbara, California, Fayetteville, North Carolina, Palm Bay, Florida. High percentages of interracial marriage. But this was in 2017. So just mind you, it might be different now. Albuquerque, New Mexico, Stockton, California, Anchorage, Alaska, Ogden, Utah, and San Diego, California. Most of the places are in the West Coast, y'all. Most places are in the West Coast that are open-minded. You need to be around people who have those views that can cultivate your worldview. You need to unlearn some things. I highly recommend, if you can. If you can't, I understand, because some of y'all in countries where it's hard to be around other interracial couples. But if you're in North America or in Europe and you're in communities, you need to be around people who, or around a lot of people who are diverse, because that'll help you practice these steps that I told you. And also being around your spouse is going to open you up to more things and different ways of thinking. Okay. And then lastly, it was Europe. Let me see if I could find it. Ooh, y'all. I got to get going. I got an appointment. Okay. So there was a study done in Europe. These are the top countries from top to bottom. So the higher, the starting point is where all the interracial couples are. There are higher interracial marriage rates, especially to a foreign-born person. The lower, so I'm going to go top to bottom. So the lower I go, the lower it is. Just remember that. Keep that in mind. Highest to lowest, okay? They found that 1 in 12 married people are in mixed marriages in Europe, okay? Either one partner is a native born and one partner born abroad. So they are very diverse, okay? So remember, we're going to get from top to bottom. Switzerland, Latvia, Luxembourg, Estonia, Cyprus, France, Ireland, Germany, Belgium, Austria, Netherlands, Sweden, Slovenia, UK, Norway, Malta, Iceland, Portugal, Denmark, Lithuania, Spain, Italy, Czech Republic, Finland, Greece, Hungary, Slovakia, Poland. So remember, the highest I went, as it got lower, they have lower rates, okay? So any countries at the top in Europe, you're okay. And then countries at the bottom, if you're there, if you're married to somebody, that's okay. If you're married from somebody from those countries, it happens sometimes. But you got to be careful for those of you who are dating and trying to move abroad. You got to be around people who are going to make you feel comfortable with being uncomfortable. So that way you can unlearn and relearn and try to expand yourself. If you're going to be in an interracial, intercultural relationship, you really need to have those things in mind. You need to be, like I said, more sensitive. So on that note, y'all, I'm going to get going. I know I yapped a lot today, but I had to finish this because I do want to talk about other topics too. I don't want to just talk about interracial relationships. So I just want to close this series out. And if you want to talk more about interracial relationships, definitely, you know, you can let me know next chat. But I kind of want to do different topics and talk about different things. So Hope said, thank you for sharing your knowledge. Love your personality and humor. See you next week. See you next week, sis. Oh yeah, my sis from Canada, Nova Scotia, right? I believe. Yep. And Carla said, people tend to generalize about stuff instead of take the time to. Yep, they do. They do. They do. Lil Mama said, thanks, Romy. I appreciate your advice as always. Oh, thank you for joining, y'all. And yes, people like to generalize stuff, and some people think that they're very open-minded until they get with someone from another culture, and then they learn real quick they're not as open-minded as they thought. But that's okay. It's okay. We all have to start somewhere, and then once you start there, then you can grow. There's always time to change and grow. That's my point. So if you've been doing things the wrong way, it's okay. It's okay. You didn't know, but when you know better, you know what you do better. So I'll leave you guys with that. So on that note, I am going to rush right now because I have an appointment. But until next time. Mamauko said, bye, cousin. See you next time. See you next week, y'all. I'll be back next week. So we'll talk about something new next week. So on that note, thank you so much, y'all. Thank you for joining the chat. And I'll see y'all later. Have a good week. Love you guys. Bye.